Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
But in all seriousness, people like me and people like Barth, real sickos.
A story that you posted, I think it was yesterday, on Ted Harper, our nutritionist.
You posted.
Thank you.
Ted's been a guy who's been with the team for like 20 years now. 14.
Thanks for reading.
Awaken 180 worked for me. It absolutely worked for me.
Yeah, it sure has. You have to buy a whole new wardrobe. If we get you the hair, you'll be like in your 40s again. Too bad Moss isn't still on the team because we could have, oh, Randy, you came and you gave without me. Were you crying?
Was I crying?
Yeah,
No.
did you bring tears to your eyes?
I mean, I enjoyed the Barry Manilow concert.
Yeah.
No, I was not crying.
You couldn't
No.
drag me to that.
I'm telling you, it was a lot of fun.
The Goo Goo Dolls, I liked that kind
Yeah,
of.
I mean, like Creed was a
soft
little
rock
cooler.
type.
Like if you were, that was a little bit better.
I make fun of all of them.
One of, yeah. So
Just
so
so
good.
bad.
No.
Oh, God.
Classic.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
All right, welcome to Patriots Unfiltered. It is Tuesday here at Gillette Stadium, and we're here to talk about yesterday's OTA practice that we had access to. So we'll wrap all that up and talk about who did what.
Good news, everybody.
Drake May's back.
Drake May's back.
Drake May back. Have no fear.
Roll back on.
We got our quarterback. Don't worry about it. So we'll talk about everything that the guys saw yesterday. It's Deuce, it's Evan, it's Paul, it's me, it's Matt in the booth. What else have we got? We got David Andrews retired yesterday. We'll talk about that.
Busy day.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah,
had,
emotional
coordinators,
ceremony.
assistant coaches available.
Yeah.
Wow. David Andrews.
Yep.
Right.
It was a busy Monday here at Gillette Stadium.
Sure was.
Especially for June.
Yeah.
And today it's Tuesday. The players are still out there. We're not.
Just
But
saw him walking out.
yep.
Getting ready.
Players are out there. So they're still practicing. And next week, minicamp. Mandatory minicamp, I should say. That means Paul.
I won't be here Monday.
I know, I'm only kidding. All right.
I got a thing.
So let's get right into it. Yesterday, the practice. Much better offensively, correct?
Yeah, for sure. Some big plays. Kayshon Boutte on the sideline was a nice one. A little fade to Ramondre. So Drake looked sharper. I don't think it was.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I mean, you could speculate that they're starting to build off of things. And Josh said before practice, a lot of things we're doing on here is the first time we've ever done it. So maybe they're building on it. I don't know exactly why, but it looked a little cleaner. I'm not going to overreact when he had a bunch of interceptions. I'm not going to overreact.
Sure.
He looks like he's progressing within the offense, and that's a good sign.
Yep.
Yeah, I would agree with all that. I think there's some context probably to why this practice might have been a little bit better. No Carlton Davis, no Marcus Jones out there on the defensive side. Those guys weren't there. So if you wanted to be, Debbie Downer about it, but I was really took away a lot of positives from what we saw from him yesterday. I just thought the offense was more in a rhythm. The timing and the rhythm of it, which is really what you're looking for this time of year.
Was the pass rush a little bit more subdued? I know they're not in pads, but like people in his face.
I considered that angle, but then there was other times where I thought there might have been a couple of sacks as well. So
Okay.
There was one in particular,
Deuce
Keon White got
negated
in
one
there.
of the completions.
Yeah, Keon White got in there on a completion.
That was the one I thought. He did the old, I got you.
Yeah, and so I don't know, maybe a little bit of that as well, but I don't also put zero in the fact that they said they were doing a bunch of new stuff. And when you go up against the same defense, practice after practice, maybe the defense was starting to get an idea of what the offense was doing and what some of those base plays were. So then yesterday when they put in some new plays, the defense might not have been
I love that point.
as up to it. And that's the goal. Like you hope you go into games and the defense doesn't know what plays you're running. So hopefully that will come to fruition. But Deuce said it, the throw to Boutte. Thought there was a couple nice in cuts from Drake as well, and then the wheel to Ramondre was kind of the cherry on
Probably
top.
the best play of the three practices. that we watched,
highlight
that-
of the
that wheel
practice,
route.
a little off-platform wheel route that looked like vintage Drake.
And, I was out there for a little bit, and I didn't see any of the 11 on 11, but I did see Stefon Diggs in the drills, and he does not look like a guy who's coming off an ACL.
No.
I mean, he looks as fast as any receiver out there.
I said to Paul, I was like, so this is what it looks like.
Yeah, I do think he looked pretty good. You could definitely tell, though. I mean, if you
Oh, yeah?
watch watching the
It's
whole
like right
practice,
calf is definitely smaller.
Yeah,
Well, I know
and-
he didn't participate.
So
later.
he did
Yeah.
individual drills. He did wide receiver drills. He did some walkthrough stuff, 11-on-11 walkthrough stuff. But then when they went to regular 11s, he went on the other field, actually with Jalen Polk, and they continue to run routes as they're both working back from injury. You could tell, sort of, I thought, in between when he would sort of, kind of like readjust.
Okay.
and-
Yeah.
Was he wearing a brace?
But I
No.
took no. He had like some small little thing, but it was not a brace.
Okay.
I thought he looked fantastic in terms of like straight line speed, cutting.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's like 7 months removed at this point, so I think it was a positive sign. I mean, it was a great sign that he was out there.
Yeah.
Let's say state the obvious, but yeah, I thought he looked pretty good.
You see some leadership, I think, working with some of the
Yeah.
younger guys about knocking hands away.
Well, this
Those
is what we
things-
heard from Houston, right?
He's a route runner
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Like he's a good technician, and I think that'll be good for some of these younger
Even
guys.
Rusty, you can tell how smooth he is. Just in
Yeah,
and out.
Mike was like, so that's what it's supposed to look like.
I mean, I was excited too. I can't help but be excited about a player like that and adding a receiver like that we've all been clamoring for to see
Well,
them have a star receiver, and they have one.
Remember
Well-
that year? I'm not putting him in the Hall of Fame, but the year that Randy Moss came that summer, like, oh, that's different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if we're there quite yet with Diggs, but he looked explosive to me, looked quick, looked agile, looked like Stefon Diggs. And I think one of the main things that stood out to me too was just how confident he is on the practice field. And when you get used to watching practice and it's a lot of younger receivers or rookie receivers, recent draft picks, things like that, they don't have that swagger of an alpha wide receiver like Diggs had. And he was out there and he was kind of being a number one receiver, right? He's carrying himself that way and acting that way, and so that was cool to see as well.
So based on what we saw, is there any chance he doesn't start the season at PUP?
It looks less to me than you would have coming off the injury. I mean, Wes Welker did it, so I don't think it's unprecedented for a receiver to come back.
And Wes Welker's got injured a lot later than
Yeah, he was late in the season.
Diggs did. So yeah,
I think it's
I think
possible.
it's individual case by case basis.
Yeah.
My guess is he'll be ready to play in the opener. It'll be how much work do they feel like he needs to do. Because I think Kendrick Bourne probably physically was ready to play at the start of the year, but they didn't think that he was ready, like football wise. So they decided, with the numbers.
Well, how do you feel about that, Paul? Like, I feel like
I think if he's ready to go, he should be.
Yeah, right.
I think,
know, right?
if
You're ready to
he's
go. Let's go.
physically, if he passes the physical and he's cleared for contact,
Yeah.
he should be ready to go week one.
Yeah, I think with a player like that, and I know he's a little bit further along in his career, but he's Stefon Diggs. Like, if he's ready to go, like
That's how I feel.
he's out there. Like, I don't no disrespect whatsoever to Kendrick Bourne, but we're talking about a perennial Pro Bowl receiver here when he's
1,000
right.
yards.
And
And the difference between Kendrick Bourne and Demario Douglas and Keyshawn Booty isn't that great, as opposed to Stefon
Yeah.
Diggs and
Yeah.
those guys.
Yeah, and I even though I think Bourne was maybe 100% healthy last year, he talked about his conditioning and stuff was
Correct.
not
He
close
wasn't ready.
to being ready for week one of last year. We didn't see Bourne do any of the stuff we saw Stefon Diggs do yesterday in training camp last year.
Nope.
He was way behind, and I'm not picking
Now
on
the only
Kendrick
thing
Bourne.
that
I'm
I'll
just
say
comparing
is
the
we didn't
timelines.
see it, but he was doing it.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you remember, every day he was
Posting
out there,
videos
and
and
he
stuff.
would go down, in the other field. He would go in the bubble.
Yeah.
We didn't see it though. To Evan's point,
Well, it was
striking to see
Yeah.
Diggs yesterday, actually right in front of us.
Yeah, and
doing all those
going
things.
through walkthroughs, which tells me that they think that he has a chance, right, to be ready early. So I don't know.
I agree.
I think he was miles ahead of where Kendrick Bourne was, and their injuries happened at the similar time of the season as well. Both in October. So I think that just comparatively speaking, I think he was pretty far ahead.
Anyone want to give a rookie report, particularly the top 3 picks?
Sure. I mean, I think Will Campbell looks pretty good. I mean, he looks out there. He moves really well. We knew that. Hard to evaluate offensive linemen. Henderson may be my favorite player just to watch touch the ball in general, even when no one's around him, just because you can just see that he's like a souped-up sports car waiting to explode. And Kyle Williams, I thought, was Well, we maybe didn't quite see as much of him yesterday. And I just point to Efton Chisholm, who
So I thought it was interesting.
Oh,
I know there's a lot of
Chisholm. We
talk
gotta talk about him.
He's
Yep.
getting reps with with top groups, and you just see who they kind of meander with, which groups. So I went into this practice saying I got to see it with my own eyes to see this Chisholm kid. He was really productive yesterday. Caught a lot of balls, no matter who he was playing with. So I think that he's going to be in the mix for competition.
Yeah, I think the number going around right now,
As you know, I'm pulling back on that, but that's okay.
I would
is,
imagine.
7 catches yesterday in practice, and
for 12 yards.
getting some. Oh, stop it! Getting some reps with Drake too. So like this wasn't just.
So
One of them was from Drake.
So clearly they want to see what
Yep.
he can do.
Yeah.
And that's what I think the significant part is what Mike touched on.
Yeah.
He was with Douglas and Bourne, and, and then Douglas and Booty.
Yeah.
And Kyle Williams, it was probably just like one of those days we're going to cycle these guys out. Kyle Williams was coming in a little bit later. Now, I think Kyle Williams has looked good.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's not, doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's losing his reps. I think they probably feel like Chisholm is earning some more looks, and they want to see him with some better players.
Well, one more point I would just make on the wide receivers is they're very different drills this year, very different from what we've seen in the past of wide receiver group work. When they're doing positional drills, there's a lot of speed stuff. There was a drill yesterday where they were almost running like a zigzag together at the same time. Really gives you a chance to compare how the different receivers move. There's a lot of generally drills where guys are getting up to full speed. So we're seeing things that, Mayo to Belichick, a lot of carryover, similar wide receiver warm-up kind of drills. It's totally different now. The way they're working these guys. I don't know if it'll be more productive, but it's a whole new
So
kind of playbook.
what makes it different?
I think just the movement. Like there's a lot more moving fast, and you see things like catching a ball. You have a pad in your arms, and you're trying to catch a ball like that, or they have a bunch of dummies lined up, and you have to catch in between. They're throwing
Traffic,
them in between
contested
traffic
catches, like working that kind of stuff.
But like that drill stood out to me yesterday with a warm-up drill where it's full speed, short area, cut. And I think as Evan said, that's what was impressive to see Diggs do that, because if you're on an ACL, that was one drill where I'm like, this is tight quarters, this is a lot of cutting, and he seemed to be ripping right through that drill, no problem. So I really like those drills.
Who do you think is the person behind that? Is that Vrabel? Is it McDaniels? Is it the wide receiver coach?
Is it Downing?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think we saw them when Josh was here
Is it
really either.
because we
those
need
kind of
these drills because of the type of offense that we're going to run?
I think there might
Great
even be
question.
some of the other guys, like the behind-the-scenes guys. And I'm sorry, I don't know all the names, but like
Riley Larkin.
those are there any sort of exercise guy, like that are new to the program?
yeah.
Like not strength and conditioning. I know Jerron Mayo's still here, but are there
No,
other guys that have come in?
Yes. So Duran Mayo's still here, but Vrabel hired his guy from Tennessee to come here, who's
I'm wondering if it's that.
like director of sports performance.
Yeah, Frank Pirano.
Yeah, that's it. Yep. Thank you. And
So he was on crutches. Is he still on crutches?
I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Oh,
No,
he's off the
Yeah.
crutches? Yeah.
he does. It sounds like he's more into like the sports science, like actually looking at the data and looking at the numbers of that type of thing. And one of the drills that they were doing, they were holding a medicine ball.
Yep.
and
That's the one that really stood out.
and
to
then
me.
throwing it, and like that's to get the resistance off the line of scrimmage from the release to like teach explosiveness out of your stance with the release. And then they're almost like doing like a 3-cone drill after that, the way that they were cutting off of it. So that drill was cool, and they had like one guy was going here, and then the next guy was right next to him, and so the guy behind was trying to catch the guy in front of him. It was like a little, almost like a mini race.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that stood out to me, Mike, is I felt like some of these things were set up to not just do the sports science part of it, but it was also creating a little competition.
Yes, 100%.
So
Yeah.
Evan just described one with the medicine ball, which obviously you're getting off the line, off press coverage, and then you do the 3-cone drill. Well, those were going on side by side. So there was 2 guys going against each other, and I'm sorry, but you're going to compete
Yeah.
in that kind of situation.
Right. You don't want to be
The one that Evan was
right.
talking about with the guy trailing. You want to make sure you're not getting caught. Like I think that they were setting up some stuff that is obviously helping in terms of fitness and physicality and all the things that go into the drill, while also creating a little
I noticed
faux
that too.
competition.
Even in some of the other drills where you have 2 guys, they start on the line, they come up, and then they cut, and then they run down the sideline. It was always 2 at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good observation.
There's some
Yeah.
like mirroring drills where a guy's trailing and they're trying to like cut off each other, and
Yep.
I don't know if they're guessing the right way or but
That's a good observation.
Generally, it feels like they're getting up to top speed, whether it's open field, running straight to finish drills, or these quick little 3-cone drills. They're getting up to top speed.
That's
a lot
been
more
striking.
Than I've seen.
The continuing all the way to the goal line at full speed. Now, every training camp I've ever been in, a guy will catch a pass at the 40-yard line and run 40 yards into the end zone, but not at full speed. And almost everything I've seen in that regard. And this is mostly the pre-practice kind of stuff, like as they're setting up, walkthroughs, quarterbacks loosening it up. But these guys are running like 50-yard sprints to the end zone every time they catch the ball.
So here's the deal. Next week, it's minicamp. It's mandatory. We'll be out there, and so will you. So Monday and Tuesday, as we've done in the past, we'll have our cameras live, and we'll do a live show at minicamp. It'll start around 11:30 in the morning on Monday and Tuesday. We'll go to Mike Vrabel's press conference around 11:45, and then we'll show you what's going on the field, and we'll talk over it. We can only be there for a certain amount of time, and then they make us turn off the cameras. At that point, we'll end the show, but we'll have a wrap-up show around 2:30 after practice to talk about everything that we saw that we couldn't put on camera. But a lot of the stuff that we're talking about right now, you're going to be able to see on Monday and Tuesday. So make sure that you're with us 11:30 Monday and Tuesday Eastern Time, and you'll see some of these things that we're talking about.
It's great. I mean, it's entertaining to watch. I don't know if it's the novelty of it, where we've been watching the similar kind of practices, or at least I have for the last 6 seasons, but it's I'm hopeful that this will get this room going and start to, between Diggs coming back and having some leadership, you hope that room is going to get it in gear this year and really contribute.
Yeah,
I'm excited about Kyle Williams too. I think he's going to be a player.
Yeah, listen. I mean, it's early. How do we know what's going to happen? We don't even know what training camp's going to look like right now, but they should be better.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the offense right now. They should be better.
You just get a vibe. Like I don't know if I can make this comparison. I've said before, my experience in LA, like the best TV shows were one guy's vision, and it's twisted maybe, and there's some weird things you don't quite get. Say the same thing with Bill Belichick. It was kind of his vision.
As long as it's not Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks, right. With David Lynch. But you just get the feeling this team will be Mike Vrabel's vision of he's putting his stamp on every part of it. It's going to look the way he wants. The practices have a vibe. The players have a vibe. It just feels like a real football team's coming together. How will it all work out in wins and losses? I don't know, but I'm excited to watch. I think they're going to be a tough team. We said last year, pain in the ass team, that Matt Smith's thing.
Yeah.
I think they'll be a pain in the ass this year.
All right, so we'll talk more about practice. Then later in the day, 3:30, David Andrews had his retirement press conference, and we streamed that live. So you might have seen that. But right from the get-go,
Very emotional.
He was.
He could barely make it to the podium.
Yeah, he was really emotional, and I think it's a guy who he really. I don't think he's come to grips yet with that he has to stop playing. I think he wants to keep playing.
And I think it happens a lot to guys that they don't get to go out on their terms, and it's like an injury. And, remember, I'm not trying to compare David Andrews to Lawrence Taylor, arguably the best defensive player who's ever played. But I think he, blew out his Achilles in the year that he was planning on retiring. And he was like, I can't go out that way. Mm-hmm. And he rehabbed, and he came back and played one more season. I think I might have that timeline a little off, but I think that happens sometimes with players as they get near the end. They don't want to go out on an injury. And I think, and David said it a couple of times yesterday, I'm just physically, I can't play. I'm not healthy.
Yeah.
And I can't play. And I think that probably is part of what makes it even more difficult to walk away.
Yeah. Lost a lot of weight too. I mean, he
looks great.
Like
he does. He looks great.
That offensive lineman thing where it's like, wow, you look like
Goes one of two ways.
He looks like a defensive end with the V cut.
Right? He's got the shirt tucked into the jeans and everything.
Yeah.
No, he was a great Patriot. I think at the time when the season ended last year for him, he said, I want to get surgery to hopefully give me a chance to compete and play. And it seems like he did get to that point.
And he said a lot of things that resonated with me, but one of them he said was about New England. And about living in the area, that every year they'd go back, and then one year they said, you know what, by the time we get back to Georgia and we're unpacked and we have to pack to come back anyway, so this year let's just stay. And at that point, they enjoyed it so much they decided, okay, this is our home.
Yeah.
And a lot of players that aren't from New England they end up going back to wherever they are. But he and his family are staying. He's got 2 young boys, and I like that. I like that they've adopted the Boston area as now their home.
Well, I think this team gets flack sometimes for state taxes and not a great place to live, and there's winners and all that. But there's certainly plenty of players that have come here and fallen in love with this area and put down roots here after their playing careers are over. Certainly some of them who are famous, and they're not going to go somewhere else because this is where they're famous. But always love.
But particularly if you have kids. I mean, like, we do have a pretty good education system, and the hospitals are good, right?
Yep. And that's the kind of stuff that it never comes up when they're talking about the taxes,
right?
You guys are right. There's a lot of players that have stayed in the area basically because of their kids in their schools,
right?
Yeah.
So I like that. So that was that. Any other comments?
Yeah, well, he also said that he ultimately decided too that he wanted to only play for one team throughout his career. So when I started to think about it, the one team thing, the injury, it felt a lot like Julian Edelman to me, where, at the end with Edelman, his knee was basically shot and he couldn't keep playing. And I don't know if David's situation's as serious as that with his shoulder, but that's ultimately what ended Edelman's career, was an injury. It feels like that's ultimately what did David in. And then, he obviously, only played for the Patriots, played for one team for over a decade, both of those guys. So I saw a lot of parallels between that, where I think Edelman still had the itch to play, but physically just couldn't play at the level that he's used to, and I think maybe the same for David Andrews.
Yeah. The couple of things that stood out to me were just like his passion and his emotion were obvious, and just the way his passion for the organization, the passion for his teammates, his relationships, and the passion for the game itself, football. I mean, he spoke with reverence about football, and just how it prepares you for life. And it's a typical SEC kind of a player and mentality, but like it was not phony at all.
Yeah.
Like,
we talked about it last week about promoting tackle football and the lessons that only football teaches as a team sport, above and other team sports, and the NFL, and we need to get more aggressive about promoting tackle football again.
There is no better teacher for life than football, I think is the way David said it.
And getting kids playing tackle football again, because the numbers are diminishing. There's no doubt about it. But you listen to a guy like David Andrews, if I'm a parent, I'm like, that wouldn't be a bad thing for my kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe in a couple of years we'll have Ford out there, Ford Andrews.
Ford and Worth.
Yeah.
Worth.
The 2 boys.
Yeah. But yeah, it was great. I mean, it was
really nice event.
Such an emotional event, but really cool. And I also just kind of felt, he said that he's gonna wait and take some time and spend some time with his family, but that's a guy that's gonna have to be around football, like whether it's coaching or doing what we do or whatever. Like, it's gonna have to be something, I would think, and maybe not right away.
Now, from what I hear, he is going to be around from a marketing standpoint. He's going to be an ambassador, so he'll be with sponsors and doing things for the organization this year.
Staying busy.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, coaching is hard. Like, obviously, it's more time consuming probably than playing.
See, that I can understand. Like, I don't want to jump right back into the grind.
Yeah,
right.
But I could see him doing it
as much
maybe
a grind as it is being a player.
I could see him doing it at like a high school level or something like that.
Well, once his kids get older, absolutely.
Right. Yeah, his kids are small.
Yeah.
So I mean, I could, because I think he's how many times do we see him being credited with teaching now?
Right.
As a player.
Well, that one year,
helping Cole Strange last
that
year.
disaster
make the
year 2
transition to
years
center.
ago, when like he ended up being the de facto coach because no one was left.
Yeah.
So I think he likes to teach. I think he has that in his DNA.
Yeah. I think he could be a great offensive line coach if he wanted to be, but I totally understand that he has young kids and probably hasn't been able to spend as much time with them as he would like. So I totally get that, but a lot of us, had asked him towards the end of these last couple seasons, knowing that retirement was probably on the horizon, about coaching, and he never said no. It was never a hard no to coaching eventually. So maybe he would.
Speaking of teaching, I just could talk about the coaches. We heard from all the coaches yesterday, but I thought it was a really great story from Zach Kerr, who was talking at the podium and said, I think when he was in high school, there was a
Zach
fellow,
Kerr is what?
he's the inside linebackers coach, but he's currently serving kind of as the de facto defensive coordinator until Terrell Williams is able to return. But he said, how did you get into coaching? And he said, I think he was in high school. A fellow student didn't speak English very well, and so we worked with that student, and the student ended up successfully passing a test or something. He was very excited, and he said that was the moment I realized I want to help people. I just thought it was a really cool.
It's a great story. It was even younger than that, which I think makes it a little bit more impressive. Okay. I think he said he was in the fifth grade, and there was a fourth grader who didn't speak a lot of English that he tutored. And the kid ended up getting an A on a test like the week later, and the kid ran up to him and gave him a big hug because he had never really done well in school.
Yeah.
And that's when as Mike said, I realized I wanted to teach. I wanted to help people.
Yeah,
that was a really cool story.
And that person ended up being Myles Garrett.
Yeah, it was funny though because it seemed like everybody went to the offensive coaches, and I looked over and it's like Scott Booker's hanging out by himself. Andrew Callahan was just talking to Mike Smith, and then Clint McMillan was also just not talking to anybody. So I'm like, well, I'm a defense guy, so had a really good talk with Scott Booker, who I really enjoyed listening to on the field, and great getting settled here. But just really excited about his room. Talked a little bit about Woodson and the impact he's had. But then I also finally went over and talked to McMillan, who had a connection with Joshua Farmer at Florida State, and said that he walked in, didn't know him, first recruiting classes when his first year in Florida State, and while they recruited him, he just said this giant human walked in, but they built a relationship, maintained a connection, and was excited to get him back here in the room too. So the poor defensive guys, nobody wants to talk to them. Everybody's over there, Ashton Grant talking quarterbacks.
Yeah, well, some of us were at Doug Marrone talking offensive line, but
fair enough.
In fairness, there was there's a lot of reason to talk offense yesterday.
Oh, no, yeah. I know.
Yeah, no.
But there's very few defensive guys. I was sure to point out, I'm like, I like the defense. I'm coming to the defense side. I'm mad at you. Yeah.
I hit the trifecta of McDaniels, Todd Downing. I went over to Marrone for a little while. I wanted to hear from Marrone, too.
Well, it's always me and Bedard are first to Marrone. And then, now with Will Campbell and all the attention on the offensive line, there's more people that come over, too. But Thomas Brown probably made, for the scribes, they probably had the biggest headline talking about the changes that they're making to the offense and the new wrinkles. And it really is a melting pot of coaches. We've talked about this, and some people look at it as a negative or a positive, whichever way you want to look at it. But from a positive standpoint, it sounds like they're kind of taking things from everybody's background to add to the base of Josh McDaniels' scheme.
So that's a good segue for me, because I was on my way up to New Hampshire on Sunday, and so I had the radio on, and your guy, Dan Lipschatz, was raging about how much he can't stand Josh McDaniels he's terrible, blah, blah, blah. He's going to be running an antiquated offense. The last time he was good was, whatever, and they don't run that offense in the NFL anymore. Blah. He was going on, really going on and on about it.
You ever seen Buffalo?
But then you listen to Josh McDaniels' comments yesterday about how they do have that melting pot of ideas, and that he's learning from them and installing plays that he's never run before. And how does that make you feel when you hear that?
It's exciting. Obviously, I think the foundation is still the Josh McDaniels offense and the Josh McDaniels playbook, but some elements they're trying to add in to maybe just throw some curveballs at defenses and maybe just have it as a game plan thing to be able to do that. But a lot of people speculated that Thomas Brown was talking about some of the Sean McVay stuff because he has a background with Sean McVay. Most of these guys that are on the staff around McDaniels now are from West Coast backgrounds, West Coast offenses. Ashton Grant was in Cleveland. Todd Downing was in Tennessee with Vrabel in West Coast offenses, and then Thomas Brown was in the West Coast family as well. So maybe some McVay stuff in there, but I cannot. For 3 years I've been hearing they're trying to Sean McVay this offense. You hear it all the time. Wide zone, more motion, all that kind of stuff. So we'll see if it comes to fruition. But But I think there is an element of truth to that maybe that's what they're trying to get after here with Thomas Brown, who's the pass game coordinator, which is a title that they've never handed out before.
That's right. Not on this team.
Yeah, so it's hopefully.
It's always
sounded
like Kramer. You got that right.
You got that right, buddy. It's always so reassuring for me to hear from Josh McDaniels because I feel like there's always so much hysteria around the offense and the playbook and all this, and he's always so calm, cool, measured in what he has to say. And I think one of the things we criticized Bill for at the end was kind of turning within himself and not really trying to expand and grow and kind of sticking with the people he knew and the schemes he knew. I think this is a positive sign right now that Josh is open to. I mean, he said it explicitly yesterday. There's going to be some plays out here that I call that I've never called before. So those are music to my ears. I don't think anybody wants to hear that, everything's the same. I understand that base of Lifshat's point. But overall, listening to Josh talk, I feel confident in him, and I'm excited to see what they whip up. See, they're gonna be a little different,
Yeah, yeah. I'm interested to see what it is. I'm not in love with the idea of Drake being under center more. That's the one hesitation that I have. I don't think he's 100% comfortable with it. He didn't do it a ton in college. It's just not done a ton really at any level besides the NFL anymore. High school and college, and so I don't know. We'll see. Like I would prefer more of like the Andy Reid stuff where they're RPOs and gun runs and things like that they do with Mahomes. But maybe it will be more under center, wide zone bootlegs, things like that, which can be Drake is obviously really athletic, so you get him out on the boots and that could be really productive. I'm not saying it can't be, but we'll see what it ends up being. I don't want to.
But you feel like if they ran it enough, do you have confidence that they wouldn't keep trying to do it if they feel like he can't do it?
If their idea is to run boots, then I think that he is going to do that at a really high level. If the idea is to do the Brady thing where he's under center, he's turning around, his back's to the defense, he's play action, and then he's back up, his eyes pointed up field, I haven't necessarily seen him do that comfortably yet. Mm-hmm. I think the times that they tried to do that with him last year wasn't fantastic. So that's one thing I would maybe hesitate a little bit with, but he's so athletic that when he gets on the move, he looks like a natural on boots. And if that's the way that you're going to do it, then that's okay.
So I would say, we gave you a half hour of, all the things that were great. And I would agree with that. The best stuff.
And then there's Paul.
The best stuff that I saw from May yesterday was when he's sort of one step up, two steps to the right, flick of his wrist, because he's just so gifted. That's where those throws came from. It wasn't always just the time,
seven-step drop.
Right. I would
release.
just say the whole everything is back. All that was. He made some throws yesterday that will look like the throws that we saw last year, which was that part was back. Mm-hmm. The offense in general still is not looking good. It's still clunky.
Yep.
In my view, I think, as Evan said, I think sometimes the timing wasn't always there. Mm-hmm. Mike and I were talking about he still has that every once in a while, that step to the right, throw to the left, which doesn't look good. The kind of it's not there. I'm going to double clutch and whatever. I don't care what you call it, a hitch, a pump, or whatever. But when you see him move around, one of the ones that Mike was critical of, that was probably a sack. I was actually I don't know. I thought Drake really moved well on that play and got himself into a throwing lane. And man, he is just so impressive. The one to Stevenson, the throw was perfect. It was a great catch by Stevenson, but considering what he had to navigate to get the ball there, it was that's a special play.
Yeah.
That's the part. I think that what you're trying to say is your whole. I don't want to take away his superpower. Well, that's his superpower is his ability to throw off platform.
Right, and just his ability to make plays. And when you have him in the gun and he can just stand there pre-snap and see the whole defense and see the structure of the defense and then understand where the threats are and things like that. I just think that he can make plays. If they're going to send pressure at him when he's in the gun, he's so athletic that he can just get out, right, and he can just make plays on the outside with his scrambling ability. So when you look at now, the Bills have gone a little bit more towards under center just to have that, especially for the playoffs and when it gets cold in Buffalo, and to have
and
that.
They also run a lot of sneaks with Josh Allen too, that I don't think they're going to run a ton of with. May.
Yeah, but when it comes to Allen, Lamar, Mahomes, Burrow, it's them in the gun, 3 wide receiver, 11 personnel, and it's just roll the ball out and make a play. And I still feel like that's where Drake is at his best, but that doesn't mean that he can't learn this other stuff. I feel like that is going to have to be 85% of the offense, I would think, is him just making plays from shotgun.
All right, podcasts at patriots.com is the way to email the show. 855-PATS-500 is the hotline. Chris in Colfax writes in. Colfax, California.
Yes,
you know where
correct.
that is?
Yeah, I know the road, but I'm not
Yeah,
sure the town.
Okay. At what point should we be getting excited about Efton Chisholm? When does the
Now.
hype start to become something?
April 30th.
Yeah.
Oh, when did they sign him? May 5th.
Stop
When
it.
does the hype start to become something real and more J.C. Jackson / Jacoby Myers and less Zach Zudfeld and Austin Carr? Also, what exactly does Todd Downing do? I've seen and heard more of Diggs and Hollins coaching the other guys than Downing.
No, that's not true. I mean, that I mentioned it at one of the other shows. I mean, when they're going two fields, Todd Downing's running the whole offense on the other side with the the lower depth chart guys, whatever you want to call them. So I think he does a lot. As for Chisholm, I mean, we saw Jalen Polk have a great summer, caught a lot of balls, seemed like he was going to be active. And of course, he was making the team, but he didn't end up being productive during the season. All we can do is watch what happens. And Evan gave the stats, 7 catches. He pops up a lot. He's playing. You can tell when guys are starting to get more high-level reps, and that is something that I definitely clocked yesterday. He's going to have to string it together. He might need an injury. But we were speculating, like, is there a world where he does start to push Demario Douglas a little bit? Is there a world? I don't know for sure. He's got a little more size than Douglas has, which maybe gives him a little bit of an advantage. I don't know. But competition is great at a position where you've really been struggling to find talent.
Can we move it to my conspiracy kind of stuff that I worry about?
I love
my
that
my
stuff.
small c concerns.
I love that.
So I don't. Some of the things that I'm hearing. Scott Zolak was one, I believe, last week talking about the wide receivers and made a comment that Demario Douglas is one of those guys. He has to get into that group too. Like he's not established. I'm like, it's kind of strange. I kind of feel like Demario Douglas is with,
Yeah, he seems.
I mean, the
from
guys that
practices,
have
seems
at
like
least
he's-
done something and sort of, hesitate to call anyone roster locks, but I kind of look at him as a roster lock.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that was weird. And I'm seeing other people start talking about, Demario Douglas really isn't a Josh McDaniels type slot receiver. I've heard a couple other guys talk about. And I'm like, that's odd. Why are they saying that?
Where's that coming from?
So I just wonder if, for whatever reason, they think, and listen, Demario Douglas, I'm not here to tell you that Demario Douglas is Edelman and Welker, because I've been telling you for the last 2 years I don't see that. So I'm not going to be fraudulent about it. Maybe he doesn't have the catch radius. Maybe he doesn't have the size to have that kind of volume and hold up. But it certainly seems like they might be sort of pushing that narrative to the media, because I'm hearing a lot of Efton Chisholm talk, and I'm hearing nothing all of a sudden about Demario Douglas other than maybe he's not Josh McDaniels type of slot receiver.
The evidence seems like you said, he is part of that group right now. Whether he's entrenched or not, I don't know. But it's not like he's over on the other field doing stuff with the other guys.
I
Jalen
look
Baker.
at so if you have Booty, Kyle Williams, why am I
Stefon Diggs.
blanking? No, thank you, Stefon Diggs.
How quickly we forget.
So maybe that's not maybe that slot sort of becomes like a secondary part of the offense, like the true slot, because I think that Diggs can play the slot.
Sure.
I think he's going to play a lot in the slot.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if maybe they're looking at it like, well, this is just going to be a complementary part of the offense, not necessarily, we're not looking to get 120 targets to the slot guy like we did with Welker and Edelman. I don't know. Maybe they're looking at it that way and they just want a guy to plug in. I mean, I think Douglas, like I said, I know I'm probably going to sound hypocritical. I don't think Douglas is a great player the way he's, someone described him as a guy who was a threat to score a touchdown anytime he was on the field last year. I think he had 1 career touchdown. At the time that comment was made, he had no career touchdowns.
But he's a threat.
So I don't want to. I don't want to overrate Douglas, but I think Douglas is better than suddenly now. I think that some of the people are trying to make him out to be, and all of a sudden this Chisholm is the flavor of the month.
Yeah. Well, I think, with Chisholm, to answer the emailer's question, you can't make any judgments until the pads come on. Until we're actually playing real football with pads, and guys are pressing him and getting in his face and crowding him at the line of scrimmage and forcing him to finish through contact and play through contact. Like, we don't know if that's all going to translate for him, but I watching him, he just has a really good instinctual feel for the middle of the field and the high traffic areas in the middle of the field. Just finding pockets of space, separating with his quickness, like those types of things that I don't know if Demario Douglas is the most instinctive football player. I think he's a really explosive guy. I think he's a really quick twitch athlete. I think he can separate against man-to-man coverage. But if they're still going to be mostly Josh McDaniels' offense, that slot role is highly sophisticated. There's a lot of options. There's a lot of reading coverage. There's a lot of I'm sitting here, I'm breaking there, like different things that you have to do based off of what the defense is doing to you that just takes a really high IQ player to be able to play in there. Edelman, a former quarterback, Welker, a high IQ player. So I'm interested to see how that works out. I think with Chisholm, and I know it's stereotypical, but he just looks the part of those types of receivers right now that just has a feel for that position. He just has an innate ability to get open in the middle of the field and get open pretty quickly. So I'm excited about what I've seen. You can't really overreact until they get into pads, and he's doing it in August and in the preseason, but you understand what the archetype is. Like, you understand the mold of the player that they might be looking for.
And you understand, after listening to me whine for 15 years about it, that I just don't like the archetype of the mold.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not about Chisholm. It's about, I was hoping that the offense would move away from that.
Well, there's a chance it will. And maybe like that role, like to your point, I always it's like the Edelman and Amendola thing. Like, Edelman was really the high volume guy. Amendola was kind of like the fourth receiver, right? And maybe that ends up being it. Maybe
that's what I'm thinking. They're looking at Pop now or Chisholm.
Yeah, and I don't think that this is like Pop's going to be off the team, because I think his ability with his explosiveness is still an element that is going to be important. But I understand what they might see in Chisholm, and I can't help but think that Josh McDaniels is pretty excited about Chisholm.
And
like, this is a guy that just gets it.
My type. Everybody's got a type.
And that's what frightens me, that he is.
Yeah.
But if you can tell me that they're going to have like a big time threat somewhere, like when Gronk was here, I had no problem with Edelman catching all those passes. And back when Moss was here, I had no problem with Welker catching all. Like, I don't want to get to the point like toward the end of Edelman where it was Edelman centric.
Yeah.
I don't want a slot centric offense.
No.
Because to me, it's.
Do you think that was more Brady just being more?
Oh, they didn't
trusting
really. They
him
didn't
more?
have anything else.
Yeah.
Yes, he definitely trusted him more, but like, they didn't have option. N'Keal Harry was supposed to be one of those options. They trade from Mohamed Sanu. They didn't have the other options. My fear is that you just go back to what you know, because I think Mike is kind of right. I think that's what Josh likes. Like, this is I'm going to take my 7 yards. This is and I'm like, it's great.
Keep it going. Yeah.
It's great.
No, I know.
It's great when Brady's not going to miss any of them, and you're going to be able to make it down the field. What happens if you miss one?
Anthony writes that Ramondre made a comment regarding the playbook and how Bill and Josh had yelled at him about this, quote, same playbook.
That was funny.
I'm not sure if you guys heard the comment, but I was wondering what you think of that and how it pertains to Josh being more open-minded and expanding the playbook.
Well, Ramondre had a really tough time his rookie year. I mean, he'd be the first to tell you.
He told us yesterday.
It did not start well for him. He was not ready to participate in practice. I don't want to speculate on what exactly the reason was.
So I'll give you I'm going to let facts speak for facts.
Yeah.
Ivan Fears made a comment that he needed to learn to be a professional. He made that comment, not me.
Yeah, there's some stuff going on that he was not ready. His rookie training camp, he started the camp on PUP, I believe, and he had a tough rookie year, and then he was just really talented, and they could tell that he was good enough that he started to play and started to make some plays. But I think all of it was a lot for him. Obviously the mental stuff mostly, but I think there was some physical stuff there too.
So you mentioned Todd Downing. Destiny and Peabody writes in, what is Todd Downing's role? I've heard people bashing him online. Also said he's not the best wide receiver route coach, but knows ball. What does that mean?
Yeah, I think that there's some truth to that. He's not a wide receivers coach. by trade. He's never had the role before. He's not a former receiver. Like, he's not, this isn't Troy Brown, Wes Welker. It's not in that kind of mold. And he's new to the position to an extent, and that does have a small C concern to me. Not because he doesn't understand the offense, and I think that's the ball knower stuff is like he can conceptually teach the offense. He can teach the plays and he can teach the terminology and all that kind of stuff. I have no concerns about any of that, but top of the route releases, hand techniques, like who is he prepared to be able to coach Kyle Williams on the top of the route, like you false stepped here or you did this incorrect there. Can he make those types of corrections with no background with the position? I was a little bit surprised that they didn't look to hire even like an assistant like Tyquan Underwood was last year as somebody that's played the position before, because it can be very technique based. I think he could teach and coach the offense, but we'll see about that kind of stuff, the details.
It certainly looks different, like I said earlier in the show. Whether that translates to more production, I don't know. But it seems from afar he has a good grasp of what they're doing and that they trust him to run things when they're over on the other field.
855-PATS-500 is the hotline. Christian's in L.A. What's up, Christian?
Hey, you guys. Good afternoon, and thank you for taking my call here in L.A., where the ice rays have everyone a little bit nervous and crazy things are happening. But on to football. David Andrews, amazing player, great leadership. I hope we have someone to replace that part of what he meant to the Patriots. Obviously, we have a couple of new guys, and we have a rookie to look at. So I think we're going to be okay there. But, yeah, David Andrews will surely be missed, and I salute him as one of the Patriots soldiers. I do have a bone to pick with Evan. Please shut up about Kendrick Bourne. Kendrick Bourne never was a number one receiver, never even was a really great contributor, one good year. And you just hang on to this guy, you're hanging on to him, and I think what we should do is get rid of this guy right now. We could probably get a 7th-round pick for him, go with the young stable that we have right now, trust Josh to get the best out of these guys, and move on from guys that were either too hurt or too unproductive to really matter to the Patriots. I know you like him. I don't know why.
Christian, when did I talk about Kendrick Bourne like he was Randy Moss?
Evan won't shut up about Kendrick Bourne.
Yeah, Evan.
Just stop. Every single time Kendrick Bourne comes up,
so
you are primarily the only one defending him. You have some sort of fantasy about him one day being productive and good, all that kind of stuff.
He's only kidding. I think he's trolling.
It's off the air.
Are you trolling, Evan?
No. Guys, can you be honest? Every time we talk about Kendrick Bourne, who's the only one that defends him?
What do you mean defending him?
Evan.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Christian. I'm not going to
I
lie.
guess it happened on a show I wasn't here.
You are primarily the only one that for some reason wants to keep Kendrick Bourne. Every time it comes up, everyone else is like, cut him.
I don't know. I'm not going to argue with you. I don't remember.
I don't remember him like saying, "Oh, he's a lock," or "We should keep him." I think he talks about him in objective terms. But yeah.
He thinks he's going to be good. He thinks he's going to contribute someday. He will never contribute.
Do you talk like differently on Catch-22 or something? Because
Yeah,
I've, honest to God, I've never heard you say anything
Christian.
over the top, complimentary or negatively about Bourne on this show.
Fine player.
Never once.
Fine.
Yeah. And you guys know me. I kind of remember random nonsense.
I mean, I said he had a nice practice last week, but I was just evaluating the practice. I don't
Suck
know.
up.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'll
I
state
do
my
like Kendrick,
position
though.
on
He's
this.
a nice guy.
You have too many questions at this position to just be jettisoning guys that have. I know he's not a number one, but you have uncertainty with Diggs in his
Survival
rehab.
of the fittest.
Let him compete, and if he plays well this summer, he's going to earn a job. And if he doesn't play well, then he's not going to.
And
earn
I'll
a job.
tell you
There's
who I
12
think
guys.
is going to take, who has been taking steps toward that is Booty to me.
Yeah.
I feel like he looks like he is one of the guys.
Yep, me too.
Every practice that we've seen, he showed up.
He's carried
Like
over the confidence of last year.
Yeah.
And he's got a rapport with Drake May. I mean, that's clear
Absolutely.
from
and,
last year.
And that comment that Vrabel made, not yesterday, but the last time that because he didn't speak yesterday, Vrabel, the last time about him being in better shape. He got in better shape for the OTAs. It shows. Like, I think that he has been a very active part of the offense in all three of the practices we got to see with the full team. I mean, survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
Whoever the 5 or 6 guys that play the best should stay. And if Bourne's not one of those, he goes.
Right.
I give you credit for that one, Paul, because I think a lot of people were ready to just toss Booty out even after last year. And you made the
But
point
he was
a
on
few
the trade
shows
block,
ago where
supposedly.
right, you made a point a few shows ago where the guy's a second-year player who had a little bit of a breakout year, and in an offense that wasn't great last year. Why would you be so quick to dismiss him? Maybe he will build on
No, he
that, and it
definitely
looks like
showed
he's
Now,
signs.
if you wanted to
Yeah.
bring in 3 guys like Diggs, yeah, okay. There's probably no room for Booty or Bourne. But you brought in one. So now
Well,
let
Matt
the other
Collins.
guys fight
Matt
and see who's better.
Right.
Yeah.
I've had
Yeah.
2 different media people tell me sneaky surprise cut candidate,
Collins?
Matt Collins.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I think he's dealing with something physically, and that's why we haven't really seen him on the field yet. But
Yeah.
I don't dismiss when people have those, because I don't know who you're talking to, and I don't dismiss anybody out of hand.
Yeah.
Kamel in Georgia wants to know, did the Tavai injury look bad? If he's out for a while, do the Patriots have enough depth to replace him?
It did look serious.
I don't want to speculate, but it did look serious.
He was
to
down
me.
for a while. Guys were around him. He had to be helped off. And I see on Beetle and Zoe right now, a minute ago, they were talking about it, whether or not Jelani Tavai makes the team. I think he does make the team. As long
I think
as
if he's healthy,
but-
I think he makes the team, because I don't think they have any depth at that
Right.
position.
Right. And I think there's a good chance that he's maybe your main guy next to Spillane on that base defense. Maybe.
And that when Evan was talking about the plays, that's why I thought that was a really good point about Josh making the comment about the play. Some of these plays are new.
Yeah.
Spillane, remember when Evan was talking about Spillane was like everywhere in the
Right,
backfield,
right.
and maybe they just said, you know what, we're tired of them blowing up our practices. We're going to give them a couple of
Yeah.
new things to look at
Yeah.
that they're not ready for.
Speaking of Fresno, yesterday's practice aside, is there potential incompatibility between how prescribed and demanding McDaniel's offense is and how much of a gunslinger Drake is by nature? I wonder if loading up Drake's brain to make him a game manager will get in the way of his instinctive play style, which he hasn't even wrangled yet.
I would hope that they meet in the middle, that the gunslinger needs a little bit of the consistency in his game, just like you can't win a game like Alex Smith where you're just being consistent with short passes. You need to have some explosiveness too. So hopefully they meet in the middle, but I understand the point.
Okay. Jack in Ann Arbor has some really old sitcom references in this email. He says, I can't help seeing that the members of the PU team remind me of TV sitcom characters. Who can deny that Fred is the skipper from Gilligan's Island? Hey, little buddy.
Who's little buddy?
Paul is
that me?
Oliver from Green Acres.
don't
See,
know
like
that
people
one.
wouldn't even
I
know
don't
that.
know
Isn't
that
Oliver the pig?
I don't know.
I have
that
no
one.
idea that.
I
No,
don't know.
Oliver's Eddie Albert, the father.
Oh.
Yeah, the matriarch.
What was the
I
pig's
don't-
name? Didn't the pig have a
Trying to
name?
call you
Is
a
it
pig.
Wilbur?
Oh, Wilbur?
I don't know.
Deuce is Dobie from the Dobie Gillis show.
I don't know.
Now, that's like a 50s sitcom.
was it?
And that's Gilligan, right? That's Bob Denver.
Oh,
Right?
is it?
Dobie
is it?
Isn't that Dobie
is it
Gillis?
Bob Denver? Oh, you might be
guess that
right.
makes
Yeah.
me little buddy.
I don't know who that is.
And of
either.
course, Evan is Jim Parsons from Big Bang Theory.
Oh, okay.
This
Smart
is like
guy.
3 sitcoms from like the 50s and then like today.
Yeah.
Big idea.
Yeah.
I didn't really. I, mean,
look
I
at
can
this.
see your skipper thing,
Look what
but
we
I
got,
don't really
folks.
get my Oliver thing. I think,
It's back.
or maybe it's because of your like Zsa Zsa Gabor reference. Like,
Maybe.
wasn't Ava Gabor the wife
Yes.
on that?
Oh,
And-
yeah.
and that, so then maybe that was my
Yeah.
my wife.
Yeah.
Was she on Chicago Pope?
She was not on Chicago Pope. She didn't get picked up in
No.
syndication. I,
I
think
thought
she
she
might have
did
been
a
on the
brief
pilot.
run.
She was in the pilot,
No.
I think.
She might have been like an episode.
She had like a 2-episode
On the
arc.
IMDb, it just says
Yeah.
one episode.
Right. She's
Yeah.
a parishioner that the Chicago Pope suspected, but
Yeah.
it's just a...
Jeremiah says, I don't know if that guy just hate watches Evan or just wants everyone to bash Bourne. But the only takes I've heard Evan give about Bourne is that he has experience in this offense and he was having his best season with Josh. So I don't know what kind of glue that guy was sniffing.
I mean, that's a fact. That's not even an
That's a
analysis.
fact, man.
Like, he had 800 yards with Josh McDaniels in 21.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was his best career season.
Facts.
And he's now a full year removed from an ACL, so traditionally, you said it, Paul, they had a slow start for him. Like, just wait and see. All you do is complain about how they have no wide receivers. and
Figure
yet
out who
anybody
looks the
who's
best.
close to good. Like, no, he's not awesome. We got to get, like,
Right? What do we have?
right.
I mean, you have
They have 12 receivers.
12 weeks. 12 weeks to
12
make these
weeks, 12
decisions still?
receivers. I mean, Booty said
Well-
it, 12 receivers, probably 6 of us are going to be left.
It does kind of stick out though, and I know it's a voluntary portion. I'm not like I'm not for scolding veteran guys that don't come to all the OTAs, but like it's a competitive room, and Kendrick Bourne wasn't out there yesterday, and like it did dawn on me, like, okay, well, you're not out there, and Chisholm's making plays, and Booty's making plays, and we know Kyle Williams is going to be here, and now Diggs is back in practice, and it's like, you got to make your own print on this camp, you know?
Norm in Daytona Beach says, I think the previous caller is mixing up his talk shows. I think Zoe is the Kendrick fan. I've never heard Evan go crazy over Bourne. Great point by Mike. We're not in a position to dump receivers until we know what we have, and the pig was Arnold.
Arnold. Not Wilbur.
All right.
Arnold.
Mr. Ed wasn't.
I smell food.
Wilbur.
Paul's Food's here. So we'll take a break, and we'll be right back after this.
Whether you're in the game or betting on the game, you'll need a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the New England Patriots, provides you with everything you need to build your personal betting game plan so you can get in on all the action while practicing safe bets. Visit DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming to learn more about all the safe betting tools DraftKings has to offer. Hope is here, 800-327-5050 or gamblinghelplinema.org. Must be 21 plus. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com. Physically present in Massachusetts. See DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
With FedEx One Rate, you can ship to your student for a simple, predictable flat rate. Send a box full of home-baked treats that say, "Your father and I miss you." Or send a box full of instant noodles that says, "Your father and I would like you to stop asking us for money." Either way, one rate fits all. FedEx One Rate. 2-day shipping, one flat rate. Starting at $14.50. Visit FedEx.com/OneRate for details. Exclusions apply.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to PU Extra. It's Matisse. It's Alex. Alex, it's been like a week, 2 weeks. You missed the last one.
I did. It's been a minute.
Yeah, but
and now we're doing it without Cassidy.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, we're back. We're back. Guys, we read your emails that don't get read on the show. So if it doesn't get read on the show, we'll read it. So let's get into it. Logan from Myrtle Beach. Uniforms. Easy uniform adjustment would be blueberry tops, white throwback pants, and white throwback helmet. Clean, classic, mix of old and new. I don't know how I feel about that one.
It depends for me on like what the profile of the stripe is on the side. Because if it doesn't, like, that's a big criticism of the silver pants with the blueberry top is that you can tell it doesn't match. And I think it has to do with the stripe pattern.
It's crazy because I think it was 09. I think it was 09 when the NFL did all the throwback jerseys. And then like they stopped for a while. It's coming back. I know we're getting the rivalry jersey. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know. Have you seen it?
I haven't.
So I'm excited for that. I think the fans will be happy. From what I've heard, I think they'll be happy.
I just think they're itching for anything new. And I wonder if the blueberries would be as criticized as they are if we had just been more successful in them.
I also want to say, and I've said this since day one, because the blueberry is pretty much the Color Rush jersey.
Right.
It was good as a Color Rush.
It was cool as Color Rush.
It was
we liked
good as a
it
Color
then,
Rush once a
but
year.
Tom Brady was wearing it,
and then
right?
it was just,
so that's what you wonder, right?
Just bland and boring. I want the royal blues. I don't think it's going to happen.
I would
like
throw a party.
I would like the
Bledsoe blues.
Oh
back
yeah,
you're talking?
but I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're better chance of getting.
But they're so cool.
I want the all white. The all white away for throwback would be
okay.
Elite. But you know, we love our jersey.
I do love the all white throwbacks too.
I think they wore it in 09.
Especially when they start to get like the grass stains on them and stuff. It's tough.
Football should be played on grass. I'll stand on that.
Hell yeah.
All right, entrance song. This has been a big topic of the past week. Hey guys, I listen to the podcast after they're published. Going back to last Thursday and the conversation of entrance songs, if not Hells and Bells by AC/DC, why not see if Aerosmith from Boston can write something, or Living on the Edge is a good one of them, or a good one for them. Not necessarily the beginning of it, but if you start at the chorus, that could be something to work with. Father Fred did say it needs to have an edge. There you go. Thanks all. Jeff in Hickory, North Carolina, Southern Patriot. I think we need something like, what was it, Crazy Train?
Yeah.
I was over it, but it was like a staple.
My thing is, if we're freshening it up, why are we sticking with like the same era and genre?
Yeah,
And
I agree.
Like there's
These
been
are new players.
I don't know. I think you either have to stick with the classic, honestly, and I'll probably discuss this on the show later today because I'm sure it'll come up again.
Yep.
But I think that there's not real rock bands like there were. Evan brought this up, and some people were upset about it.
He's
but
not
like,
wrong.
I think that the rock bands of our generation are like emo rock bands or like alternative rock.
Some Nickelback.
Not even that, but like the Blink 182s
Yes, Blink-182.
and like I don't know, like Nirvana kind of came in and changed the game with rock bands. Like it became more grungy and alternative, and then it just kind of morphed into emo, and now it's like the Goo Goo Doll, like more soft rock. You know, like I think if you really want it to sound fresh, and I don't know how you would do this because you'd have to find an appropriate song, but I think to get the energy that you want, you got to go hip hop.
Fair. I'll say, what about Linkin Park? Numb.
Could be fun.
Yeah, you got the bells turning.
Could be cool. I don't know.
No, but I'm with you. I think it has to go to hip hop.
Or like the Killers. I love the Killers, so I'm biased.
They just run out to Mr. Brightside.
Or like the Killers don't get enough love for their other songs.
I know.
Like Mr. Brightside is like, in my opinion, like their third best song.
That's good shout there. No, I do wonder if it's going to change this year, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, I mean, what do you do? Because last year it was kind of like a remix. And then do you go back to the OG or do you keep the remix? I feel like you might have to switch it all up.
You could write a feature on finding the entrance song and get Vrabel and the captains and go from there.
Okay.
Look at that. There we go.
All
right, one more. I haven't heard. Knocking on the Door by Arkells has every element you need. Cheers, Randy N. Oliver II. I've never heard of that song.
I don't think it's the song I'm thinking of.
If I haven't heard of it, it's not happening.
Someone make a Spotify playlist with all of the songs people are submitting.
Yeah. Well, yeah, okay. I like that. All right. Jaws and Fred. Kelly from Salt Lake. I've been listening for quite a few years. In the early years of my listening, I recall hearing something called Fredapalooza. I had no idea that Fred lives on the Cape. Long drive. He should throw another one, Jaws themed, and have movies playing on the projector for the TV for the whole party.
Okay, so this email did get read, but I wasn't on the show, so I'm glad it's being
because you're the culprit, right? You haven't seen Jaws.
I haven't seen Jaws, 1, and 2. I think Fred should continue to host Fredapalooza because I understand that it's much further now and people want to drink, but if we're all getting together to rage in Fred's backyard, like people would get hotel rooms.
I also have
There's enough hotels on the Cape.
I have Boston Coach on speed dial now from all the events we're throwing, so we could just use them.
Right, we could get a party bus. A party bus
the
from
buzz
the
bus.
stadium.
We'll take the buzz bus from the stadium to the Cape.
Now we're talking. Or what's the lower Cape?
The funk bus. Yep, that would be
the funk bus is taking us to Fredapalooza.
And we'll play the playlist that a PU listener will make of all the entrance songs for the drive, and then we'll pick one that weekend. All right, we
gotta tell Fred that we're throwing a party at his house.
All right, one more music thing because this is the topic of the week. Hi all, there's an outside suggestion for a pregame hype song. More on the role of the new Carmina Burana than Crazy Train. The main theme for Fallout 4. It's epic, iconic, has roots in Boston, and it's not only the most popular game in the Fallout series, but it takes place in Boston. With Fallout coming out on Amazon, this isn't as obscure a reference as it once was, but it still lands out of the boring, overdone suggestions. Try picturing up the build-up to the main course. I don't know anything about music. Starting with Gil and Gino's iconic early dynasty. Don't know who that is. Oh, wait, nope. Jill, sorry. I thought it was... My bad.
Okay, I was gonna say.
Sorry, my bad. I thought those were Fallout characters. That's my bad.
Okay.
Early dynasty calls, then progressing to the second half when the drop hits, and the focus gets shifted to the new era of the Patriots like Vrabel, Drake, Gonzo. In a way, it's symbolic of one of the great Patriots getting nuked and needing to rebuild. He sends the link. I'm not going to play it for obvious reasons.
I'm unfamiliar.
I think we need to hear the theme once the show comes out.
Yeah.
And then we can judge. That'll be a 2026 issue. But I think make that playlist. Alex, you might need to
You're
make that
a Drake
playlist.
guy. I'm surprised you haven't suggested like trophies. Like you have
That'd
the
be great.
horns at the beat.
Or we made it. I mean, yeah, I would love that. I'd be dancing on the field.
That's a good hype song.
Yeah, just no Kendrick. Just no Kendrick.
He's not in that song.
I know. I'm just saying for the song, no Kendrick.
Yeah.
But no, Drake has a bunch of bangers.
He does, but like trophies feels good.
Yes.
And
we
then
have them.
It's just the horns at the beginning of the song too that I feel like it gives like marching band, like a march, like when college marching bands do trophies, it sounds so electric.
Or the LSU song. That'd be great. Yeah, LSU, Will Campbell. But all right, developmental.
We should get a
league.
marching band.
We'll get the one from Gibson's in Germany. All right, developmental league. I love the spring league idea. I live out in Western Mass, and I go to school.
Shout out 413.
I love to go to Springfield Thunderbird hockey games. Each NFL team should get a UFL affiliate, and then that team should act as a team's practice squad during the regular season. I mean, I don't think the practice squad thing will work, but there needs to be a way to make the UFL work. Because I heard Evan say the league is just not doing well. But I don't know. As I've worked here, I've learned that I actually don't fiend for spring football anymore. I need a break of it.
That's the thing.
Like I used to when I was younger, I was like spring football, XFL, yes, and now I'm just kind of like, no, I can wait till
and
August.
then like, then it becomes an issue because like part of the reason you have a practice squad team is to help with depth for injuries.
Yep.
But then if these guys are also playing, risking injury every week,
yeah,
you could get into some bad situations. I don't know.
I think why can't they just expand the practice squad? Right?
They could.
How they did it during COVID was great because it was like you get the IR slot and then they could get off IR, go back on. I know they changed it a little because now I think you can only go off once.
And then they give you the extra player on the roster for the international pathway too.
It's just, at the end of the day, football's too violent and dangerous a sport to like just have a developmental league, or like that's why the Pro Bowl doesn't work or didn't work. So I
wonder if they, like the NBA has the G League where kids can now opt out of college.
Yeah.
Maybe with.
But now with how the NCAA is looking,
now you're incentivized to go to college.
Exactly.
I mean, know.
Shedeur would have made more money if he
stayed.
This
is an issue that's way out of my my job description and my capabilities.
That's a catch-22 question. Yeah. All right, that's it, guys. Thank you for listening to PU Extra. Once again, send your emails to podcast@patriots.com. If it doesn't get read on the show, we'll read it.
And now, great moments in history.
Oh, animals get in the trash.
I put a bungee cord over mine.
But that doesn't take any time.
I know. It doesn't. I just put a bungee cord over the lid so the animals can't
Eric
get it.
and I just like
wait until the morning when I wake up,
take the barrel
and push it out in the
from
front,
the garage to the front. You might have a lot. You have to take it on the grounds. So from your house to the street is probably
but I also have
a cumbersome project. For me, it's like 2 inches.
But I
don't have
sandwich.
grounds.
All right, the sandwich.
You guys get deliveries?
Yes.
Okay.
Way
so when
too many.
Right. So when you get your delivery, do you immediately break down the box?
Yes.
Like when you get it?
Yes.
I don't.
Yeah,
of course.
I wait until
for what?
I wait until trash night and then I break down the box.
Well, it also depends. I'll take the biggest box.
No, it's not. That's very efficient.
I'll take the biggest box that I get and throw a lot of stuff in that bigger box.
How long does it take you to break down a box?
It depends on how many deliveries I got.
No, but I mean, like your average box, you get like a knife or a blade or something. It takes
a couple
you like
minutes.
Couple of minutes.
Yeah.
It takes 5 seconds.
5 seconds. What are you, Houdini? What are you? 5 seconds.
You cut the. You
gotta break it down. You gotta fold it up.
That doesn't take 10 minutes, Fred.
I didn't say 10 minutes. Did I say 10 minutes?
That's another great moment from
Hey, I want to introduce and welcome a new sponsor to the show, Brunt Workwear. Based right here in New England, Brunt Workwear makes work boots and apparel that are built for the job site. Their gear is comfortable, durable, and named after the real workers in the trades that help design it. You can even try Brunt out on the job, and if it doesn't blow you away, they let you send it back. I like that. Save $10 on your first order at bruntworkwear.com /pay. How do I screw that up? It's bruntworkwear.com /Pats. So, Pats. Or with coupon code PATS. So, I tell you, we missed out. If Brunt Workwear was here during the draft, remember how I was saying the draft was a workman's like?
Yeah, sure.
It's going to wear work clothes to no tuxedo. We could have had Brunt on the drafts, so they would have been perfect for that blue-collar draft that we had.
All right, maybe we can resuscitate it for last year.
Well, it's great to have Brunt on board.
But forged in Foxborough. We're working here. We're building foundation. We've got the new facility, the training facility.
Sounds like a
being
lot
built.
of opportunities.
Going to be open here. So perfect time for Brunt Workwear to join the fold.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
We're saying we could outfit Evan and get him into some yard work.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to look the part now, and we'll get him mowing lawns, edging the mulch.
So I'll tell our
Edging?
friends
What?
at Brunt Workwear right now, get us some stuff. We'll wear it on air.
Sure.
Not that, people seeing us wear your stuff will be that great of an advertisement, but
Hey,
I'll definitely use it around the house.
3 of us are going to use stuff outside and do yard work
Absolutely.
in it and put it to the
100%. I'm gonna do
test.
some yard work too. I'm gonna go out there
You're
with
gonna
my
kick-
weed whacker.
My weed whacker.
My weed whacker.
All right.
Whack
so
your weeds on
Brunt
your own
Workwear.
time.
So I have to mention, I was very, very, very upset yesterday on social media.
Oh, boy.
Oh.
Why?
Because Rodolfo sent me a tweet about this hotel that started making soap in the shape of a circle with the idea that now you don't have that part in the middle that you don't know what to do. And I was so upset because it made absolutely no sense. I don't care what shape the soap is. You're always going to end up with part of it that you don't know what to do with at the end. And even in a circle, it's even worse because it's going to break in 2 pieces, and then you have 2 pieces you don't know what to do with. So it just got me so upset that this was being compared to soap with a slot, which is a more elegant solution to the problem of the soap wafer. A circle soap makes no sense. So I
feel like I've experienced the circle soap before, like at hotels
Absolutely,
and stuff
sure.
like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well,
But you always
hotel
have-
soap by nature is wasted because no one ever uses hotel soap to the end. It use it to the end of your stay, and then it just sits there. And I assume they just throw it out, right?
Well, now a lot of hotels we stay at have body wash,
Now they have liquid soap.
which actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it, because
More cost effective.
Yeah,
It just sits in there. You buy by the gallon. You're not using extra plastic products.
Right.
It's, might put your
Sure.
soap with a slot out of it.
But this circle soap really, really pissed me
it's
off.
got no slot to put the other piece into to continue the
Well,
keep
it's
things
not-
going.
It's not effectively addressing
Right.
the problem.
Right. And in a perfect world, you'd be like, I haven't thrown out a piece of soap in like 20 years. I've been
Do you still
recycling
use
and
bars, Fred?
Huh?
Do you still
I
use
still
bars?
use the bar.
You?
Yeah.
No, I'm a loofah guy.
You're
Loofah. Yeah.
Well, like body.
Oh.
Loofah.
So you put
Use
the
bar.
liquid on the
I
loofah?
do a couple pumps in the loofah and
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I think liquid soap is very wasteful, actually.
Yeah, we're bar people.
Yeah.
There's
I think you end up using a lot of liquid soap.
Yeah.
well, if you got the pump, I just do 2 pumps and you never waste any because at the end you put a little water in there and you swirl
Well,
it
the
around.
loofah
and
makes
it's
sense because then it stays soapy. But if you use your hand,
Yeah,
like you have to
I
go
get my
back
whole
to the
body,
pump
one-
many times.
one pump.
in a shower. How do you get your whole body in one pump?
Well, I've lost some weight, Freddie. I'm not as big as
Well,
I
that's
once
true.
was.
That is true.
Oh my
Less
God, I'm
soap,
done with my torso already.
That's all.
less
it takes.
surface area.
That's all it takes, Paulie.
Yeah.
Is one pump, huh?
It's like just
One pump.
Just one pump these days.
Yeah.
Do with that what
One
you
pump
will.
per
Paul's gone from Texas to Rhode Island. I mean, in terms of surface area.
That was a compliment, I think.
maybe
I'm
not the
still on the
Texas
one.
part
I'm
of it.
still on the one pump.
All right. Let's see. Who's sending me this? I don't know. This is somebody named Caveman Curtis. He says Saquon Barkley said in a podcast a few weeks ago that last year's Eagles were a top 5 NFL team of all time. I strongly disagree with this take, but I'm curious your thoughts. What would be your top 5 NFL teams of all time? His, in no particular order, would be the 72 Dolphins,
No.
the 84
Not even close.
49ers,
Maybe.
the
Yeah,
04
That's in the
Patriots,
conversation.
the 99 Rams, and the 85 Bears.
Huh.
Good teams.
It's a pretty good list.
85 Bears would be in a very small list for me. Like just one season.
Yeah.
I think they're the greatest team of all time for one season.
Yeah, it's hard to argue against that. I've heard a lot of people that are a lot smarter than me throw the 91 Redskins in this, and I think it's an Aaron Schatz thing. It's a Football Outsiders
DVOA.
DVOA.
DVOA,
It's
they're that dominant.
the greatest single season DVOA. I've seen this on Twitter occasionally
interesting.
over the years. But the 84 49ers,
Yeah.
that was a 15-1 team also, and they were dominant.
Yeah.
Any of the Cowboys teams in the 90s, would they scratch the surface at all?
Yeah, you could probably make an argument. I don't know which one of them
Great
was the best.
offenses. I don't know if they were complete teams,
They're
but
pretty good defensively too.
The 2007 Patriots are the best team I've ever seen, and I know they didn't finish the job, but
in the modern era,
if we're talking about the greatest teams ever,
greatest team to not win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're probably in the conversation, even though they didn't even win the Super Bowl.
The second question from Caveman Curtis is: if you combine each of the Patriots dynasty eras and then had them go head to head, which team would win? So we're talking 01 through 04 versus 14 through 18.
Oh, so like a composite of
those two eras.
I would say 14 to 18.
It's so hard because of Brady.
Yeah, Brady got better.
Right.
So that's why I would say that.
Do you know what I mean?
But the defense got worse.
Ish.
In 14, I would argue that the defense was pretty good.
Yeah.
I just think Brady in 14 to 18 is the best player in the league. MVP every single year.
I totally get your reason.
So I think he'd be better than himself.
I think the 04 team was the best team out of all of them, followed by 14.
Yeah.
But I like Evan's argument because you can't make an argument that Brady was the same guy the second time around as the first time.
If you could add 07 to the mix, I think that might flip it for me. If you could get Moss onto that team with Dillon.
And the defense.
Now
you're talking.
I mean, 04 defense.
I just felt that was the height of this game is over phase.
Oh, yeah.
In 04. They could beat you
great.
so many different ways. In 01 and 03, they kind of had to get the lead. They kind of had to stay close, keep the game low scoring, and Brady would find a way. If they had to come from behind at the end, Brady would do it. 04 could beat you any way you wanted. Like, if you wanted to throw the ball 50 times, they could. If you wanted to run the ball 50 times, they could. If you wanted to play a defensive slugfest, they could. They could beat you
The Corey Dillon cherry on top
he was
just
great.
Completed that.
Ellen, Wisconsin, a couple soap emails. I knew this was going to happen.
Of course, that always does.
Of course.
He says it like with disdain. I knew this was going to happen. You're the one that opened up the whole second
The fans want to talk about it.
He says, I use what is basically a loofah that you can put a bar of soap inside, so you easily use the whole thing and just put the next one in when it stops getting sudsy. That's a good idea. I like that. Okay. On the other hand, Pascal writes in, he says, Fred, you're supposed to take the sliver of soap at the end and squeeze it into the concave part of the new bar. Then it dries and attaches to each other, and you don't waste anything. Wrong. I've tried that. It comes apart. It doesn't stay attached, and not all bars have a concave part. So wrong, Pascal.
Siakam.
You can't do it. It doesn't stay attached.
I think I've seen it done.
Wrong.
You really got to push it.
Yeah, but it's still it doesn't.
It's like you got to weld
It's
it.
not foolproof.
Did you wet both sides before you tried to put it together? Because you got to wet both sides.
Both sides of
the soap, the new soap and the old soap.
Of course. Well, I do it while I'm in the shower.
All right.
So everything's wet.
Well, see, that's the problem, Fred. You're too distracted by taking the shower. You got to get out and do it in the sink where you're fully focused.
Okay.
In a controlled environment. Shower, you got way too much water coming down. It's hard.
We have a very nice soap actually. Jess got it from this woman that goes to the Big E every year. She has like a stand at the Big E and she makes the soap herself.
It's just next to the fried Oreos.
Probably where I am while she's at the soap.
Right.
But yeah, no, cares a lot about her.
Makes
her
you feel-
skin.
That's a big
treatments
thing
and
now.
such.
People making their own soap.
Yeah, I don't know, but she was like, you got to use this.
In
soap.
my stocking at Christmas, I got Star Wars soap.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's a good stocking stuffer.
Yeah.
I like that. Was that a specific character? Or
All
just,
different characters.
no.
I have like 3 bars of soap that I don't know what to do with now. Because
Wow.
if you use it, then you lose it.
Right.
I forget it. You know, comes in a box. Yeah.
What you're talking about. I think I have.
Yeah.
That's not pretty good.
Is it? You used it?
I've got the marble ones.
Okay. Kevin in Maine.
Crack him something.
I know. That's what I thought. He was like, at one time I had to melt, a Wolverine with a Cyclops. It was crazy.
Kevin in Maine. I'm listening to the old guy talking about garbage. That was in the lead into the second half of the show. And I have to say, as a garbage man, I appreciate Fred's putting garbage out the night before because occasionally we have a good day and are early. So it's good to know the stop is always going to be out. I always do that. They pick up my garbage Wednesday morning. I have it out Tuesday night.
Okay, so I have a
Can't do
follow-up
that.
here.
The raccoons.
I respect the fact that he's in the business.
Yeah.
why would he care? So let's just say you do your route, and
that'd be you.
they're
Not out.
No,
Nope.
they're ahead of schedule, and now
Right.
they don't get. You,
No.
you put it out when they usually come, and it's not there yet. They want to.
So that's on you. Now you have to take your garbage back in and put it out the following week. You missed it. They came by, and that's on you.
He's being considerate,
he's
though.
being
No, but I'm
considerate of other
saying, why would I don't
Because
understand
you know
why
what happens is that
Hey, little wait for him.
no, people call the garbage collector and they say they didn't pick me up today, and he has to come back.
No, and I would just look at the rest of the street and see that everybody else's trash got taken except for yours.
I know, but
and say, well, you didn't have it out on time. That's your fault.
No, but he did. The point is,
Am I wrong on
no,
this?
the
You're right.
No, the point is he did have it out on time. They came early.
Oh.
No, but there is no quote unquote time.
Well, there kind of is.
I'm going to be very defensive of the guy
Okay.
here because I am a morning of person. I put my trash out Monday morning, and I've never missed the trash.
Well, when does your trash usually come?
It usually comes around 7, but I have it out by 6. I've never missed it.
Yeah.
When I get up, it's usually the first thing I do before I take a shower is I take everything out. But I would say, and I have spoken to some of my local guys before.
My guys.
Nothing drives them more crazy than inheriting a mess. It's not their job to clean up your trash. And when you leave it out the night before, it often gets disrupted by animals. I don't know if you know this, but it's been a little bit of a rant of mine lately. Suddenly we live in Chicago, and it's ridiculously windy every day here now. And it's all over the street.
Yeah.
Not my stuff, because I don't put it out until it gets picked up.
Yeah.
Nice.
They don't want to pick up your trash.
Okay,
They
well,
just
this guy
want to
just
empty
said
your
he
barrel.
appreciates someone putting it the night
No,
before.
I know. That's why I say I'm going to be defensive of this guy because I know how hard that job is.
Yeah.
And they are fantastic. Can I just tell you how good they are in my city,
Okay.
Peabody?
Yep.
They take everything.
Yeah. You leave it out, they take it.
Like I threw my pool cover away this week.
The whole pool cover? That's a big job.
The whole pool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Gone.
I had it all folded up, but it's heavy.
Yeah.
You know, it was 20 by 40 cover.
Yeah.
I don't have a 20 by 40 pool, but you might ask. You say, wow, I didn't realize you pull it. No, it's not years. Get a little
Yeah.
worn. You know, Freddie. You're a pool
Well, I
owner.
went to the spring cover.
Well, that's because you have a different kind of pool, so you have luxuries to do that I can't.
Well,
but
it made my life a lot
but those
easier.
guys took the pool cover no problem yesterday.
That's great.
You know, they're fantastic.
Good for them.
Yeah, I know everybody makes fun of me for never doing anything around the house like mowing lawns. Taking out the trash was a chore of mine growing up, and it was the night before, always.
Yeah.
Always.
So when I was growing up, it was the night before. I always put it out, but that was because I lived on the second floor, had to go down the stairs all the way down the driveway to the front, so it was kind of a pain. So if you waited till the morning, then you could have some of those. You got to run to get it. Plus, I wasn't up as early then.
Yeah.
You never had that experience though, where you're like walking up the driveway and then you just see the truck goes by. I've had that happen once or twice.
Well, I live in a small little
Yeah.
cul-de-sac.
Oh, you know
Well,
he's coming
I've
back
had those
around.
times where I forgot to take it
yeah.
out, and I'll wake up at 5 in the morning in
And
a
you
panic.
hear it?
And I'm like, oh my God. And my wife would be like, what? I forgot to take the garbage. I'm like, oh, jeez.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
I thought something really was wrong. Yeah.
You've all had those weeks though where the garbage is completely full and you're like, we're screwed. We got to make it another week with full garbage. You
See,
know,
that's
like you
I
miss
don't
it.
have
It's
I don't have
tough.
those
It's happened
concerns
a couple
because
times.
they're tremendous. They'll take everything. You're supposed to have like one bag. You put everything out there.
Oh, wait
they
a minute.
take it.
You don't have bins?
No.
Oh, so
I have,
that's why.
I have
Of course, if you leave a bag out, the animals are going to get it.
Well, that's how this whole thing started.
Okay, but I don't. I have a bin. I can leave it out.
So do they just pick it up? They don't even
Oh.
touch it. They have one of those
Well,
machines.
the
They do
guy,
that in Lynn. They have
the guy
that.
comes out, and it's not the ones where it reaches over and just.
Yeah.
He comes out and he wheels it up, and then it picks
Oh,
it up.
okay.
Yeah.
No, so we don't have that service, but it's supposed to be like one bag, and then they'll give you like a like.
It's tough.
There's supposed to be all kinds of
That was an
regulations.
unfair argument, Paul.
That was
You didn't tell me that you're just putting bags out there. Of course, you can't leave bags out the night before.
Just for the record, this argument was with Eric, not me.
No, but just
you can go back. He can play it back for you. That was you were arguing
no,
with Eric.
no. I'm
not
just
me.
talking about the one we just had.
Well, we didn't really have an
You
argument.
really-
I just say I like to put it out the morning of so it stays neat.
I know, but
You didn't argue in good faith. That was not a good
Right.
faith
Don't you
argument.
have recycling that you put out?
they told me I don't need to do it.
Oh, okay.
They said that they do it once it
They
gets there.
sort it there.
They sort it.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
facts. That's
Yeah.
true.
So
So I have one bin.
tell you that's not true, but that's what they tell you.
That's what. No,
Well, the garbage person told me that.
Yep.
They can make
They
more
do.
No, but they can. No,
it goes in one place.
They can
Well,
make
that
more
might be the
money from
case,
me if
but-
I rent a second bin.
No, do you have 2 separate pickups? I guess is my question. Do you
They-
have trash and do you have recycling?
They
at kind of
would if-
different trucks, different times.
Yes.
Okay, so if it's windy, in all seriousness, because I have like a whole bin of, I have young boys in the house, and they tend to drink a lot of.
Oh, sure.
So I have a lot of
Coke,
stuff all over the
Pepsi,
place.
Pepsi,
Gatorade
Pepsi.
bottles.
Yeah.
So the wind will get it. And if you wait and put it out there, I mean, if you put it out there the night before,
Sure.
it's not going to be. What
Oh,
it's
if
supposed
I've
to be.
had just bags, I would definitely not put it
Well,
out
the
there.
worst
even
was
the
the
recycling
wind would
bins.
take
But
the
you put the bin
barrels
out,
sometimes,
yeah.
and the barrels would be like down the street.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I come home from school, and I had to go find the barrels. Like
Hard knock life for you, Evan.
This was one of the times where I actually did one of these things. That's why I'm bringing
I've
them
lost
up.
recycling bins in
Yeah.
the wind. I come home and it's just not there, and you can't find it.
Yeah, I did chores. All right.
I did a chore once.
Mom, garbage bag is gone.
Nah, my
Go
sister
find it, Evan.
never had to do a chore in her life. It was, just
the princess, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Let's see. Trent writes in.
Double down.
He said, you all agreed last show you would take a 53-year-old Bledsoe over a 23-year-old Drake May.
What?
No, he didn't.
What? No.
You're talking about Drew in his prime.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. My worry meter has officially jumped to max. In words of Chief Brody, we're going to need a bigger meter. He's worried about Drake May. I don't
know.
You know.
Like, you misunderstood.
Yeah.
We were talking about, would you rather have Drew Bledsoe in his prime or May right now?
Right.
That was the question someone posed.
Right. Yeah.
And I think we all said Drew because he had the
I
experience.
don't know if I answered it yet.
Well, I'm not surprised.
Okay.
Drew's no longer on the Patriots.
He also says, why don't the Celtics and Bruins move to Foxborough? The 3 franchises could create a mecca for sports, could run the Patriot train more often. I think it's a cool opportunity. There's no way.
I think that's probably the worst
Right.
idea I've ever
Right.
heard.
P.S. My buddy and I played a drinking game. Take a shot every time Evan says it's a moment. He died of alcohol poison.
It's a moment?
You say it's a moment a lot?
You say that?
Nope.
Who are these people going on Evan?
Who are you?
They're
I never
accusing
really-
him
I think you
of
have
doing
an alter
things he's
ego
not
on a
doing.
different.
I want
know.
it to be right, but I'm like, I don't think
That's
I've ever
not
heard
I
of
something
hear
that.
these
I would
people
say.
getting ready to make fun of Evan, and I'm like on the edge of my seat. I'm like, I'm here for it. And then
I mean,
I got to defend him. I never heard him say that once.
I will admit to me, like, I've been around Kendrick Bourne for a couple of years now. I like the guy, I do. So maybe
I like him too. He's a nice guy.
Maybe Christian is right about that. That I have a soft spot for him just because we have good conversations and he actually answers my questions. But I've never said that in my life. I can tell you that right now.
That's funny.
Kyle and Pembroke, Evan isn't a perfect person. For
That's
example,
true.
he doesn't mow, but as someone who listens to every PU in Catch 22, Evan never, he says in capital letters, called Bourne a number 1 receiver. Evan may have been fooled by Taekwon every summer, but with Bourne, he has been objective. Bourne, when healthy, is a solid wide receiver 2 or 3. So back off of Evan about Bourne because there are plenty of things that are true to go at him for. All with
Good
love.
email.
Appreciate all the things you do.
Good email. Very true.
I like when the Lazarmi comes out.
I would say
defend
I would say
general.
3 at best, by the way. But good email.
Yeah.
Let poor Sean in Vancouver stay there for about another hour.
We'll go to the 855-PATS-500 hotline. Sean is in Vancouver, and he's on the hotline. What's up, Sean?
Evan, a lot of people are coming at you with false stuff. I have a legitimate argument that's not that important, but
Mike,
I'm
it's
gonna
time
put
to
it
get
out
excited
there anyway.
again.
Okay, don't get too excited. It's Rocky versus the Terminator.
It's not close.
Yeah, here it is. When I saw Rocky was in the theater, I was 9 years old. I thought it was boring. There's other Best Picture movies around that time that I thought were boring. Out of Africa, Gandhi, Chariots of Fire. Some of those movies are just, to me, they're boring. Now, I was 17 when I saw The Terminator, and to me that was amazing. I'm not a big Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone guy, but I thought The Terminator was a perfect movie. And if you look at the Rotten Tomatoes rating, it actually gets 100 from the critics. So it was a great movie, even though it's not a type of movie that's going to win Best Picture. And I think that, in my opinion, The Terminator is better than Rocky. But
well, you're wrong.
Well, but Sean, will you say though that Terminator is a little bit more geared toward a 17-year-old dude than Rocky is geared to a 9-year-old.
Absolutely. 100%, Mike.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but
it's based on your audience. It's a subjective thing. And when a 17-year-old kid came into the video
right?
store, I was working in the 80s, like, yeah, that's the movie you want to see. You want to see Rocky when you're a 17-year-old male. It's just, you want to see something action-packed where Cameron was smart enough to limit the dialogue. It's like you're making this guy a robot, so he doesn't have to actually act. So it's a good, entertaining movie where I didn't yawn at all. Where
but I think, Sean, you bring up to me even a more interesting point is the context in which you see movies affects how you remember them. And when you said that, the thing that really came back to me when I saw The Deer Hunter. I was probably in 8th or 9th grade, and we went with my friend's dad who served in Vietnam and his friend who served in Vietnam. And the whole time I'm watching this movie,
that's pretty dark.
I'm thinking about them.
Morel's shaking his head.
I'm thinking about them sitting next to me and what they're thinking about the movie. And did
they sit through it?
No. It was very quiet in the car going back home, though. I can tell you that.
Oh my God.
And so that movie to me was one of the most heavy movies I've ever seen.
Hell yeah. Sean, can I ask you just one question though? Did you see Rocky 4 and what was your reaction to that one?
Fantastic. What other reaction could you
I
have?
did see Rocky 4, and I thought it was kind of silly.
You're right about that. It's still good.
You just,
they're all silly. There's Rocky 4.
Rocky 1 was not silly.
Rocky's it's all of them collectively though, because like Rocky 1 is setting up the story. Like you got to establish the characters, and
it's a franchise,
right?
It's a soap opera.
So Rocky 1. I understand that the first half of Rocky 1 isn't exactly action packed. Like it's
Who's
right.
this bum? He's
right.
a bum.
Yeah, Cuffin' Link
this.
and Buckus, and it's not exciting.
See,
But
that's Rocky 2 to me.
But you're setting up.
The whole
setting
movie
it
was
up.
boring until the fight.
You're setting it up.
Take us.
Thanks, Sean.
So I will interrupt this just real quick. I have some quasi-breaking news. Adam Schefter, blue check mark. Patriots linebacker Jelani Tavai, who led the team in tackles last season with 109, suffered a calf injury during OTAs on Monday that is now expected to sideline him until training camp, per sources. The news is fortunate in that Tavai could hardly put any pressure on his leg as he was helped off the practice field by Jabril Peppers. So, sounds like significant injury, but not something that's going to keep him out long term.
Yeah, it sounds like maybe the team was afraid of Achilles, and maybe when you hear a calf,
you get those calf strains, you really can't walk.
Yeah.
It's hard.
You got to be careful with it because that can become then an Achilles.
Right.
You get a lot of that with guys injuring their calf. And
so I would say that's good
positive
news. Like that, I thought it could have been way worse than that.
It's going to be an interesting year for Jelani Tavai. I know what he said last year and how the fans reacted to that, but I still think he's a good player with something to offer to this team. So seems like he's in the mix with those guys, and he has size and the ability to play inside. I didn't think he was great there last year. He had to play kind of that Jawan Bentley role where that's Spillane now. Spillane's going to go be the tackle guy. I wonder if maybe he can have a little bit of a resurgence this year in this defense. We'll see. I'd also just say in Detroit he didn't really have his spot, and I wonder if how these defenses relate. If his success over the last couple of years was more specific to the Belichick scheme, is he suited to this one? But really interesting player to me this year.
Yeah, him and Jennings are fascinating to me because I think both those guys are not exactly a scheme fit for what they're trying to do now, but you know that they've played good football in their past, and they're not bad players per se, but it's one of the few guys that have stuck around that feel like they're not really a fit. Like everybody else that was kind of like that, the Bentleys, they're all gone. They kept those two guys. So.
And I would say we've seen a lot of Tavai and not much of Jennings.
Not much of Jennings.
With those guys, I agree with you. There's some
yesterday,
similarities there, and he wasn't out there at all yesterday.
Stand-up, run-stopping edge, and I don't know if that position exists, but he's really good at it, which maybe gives you some pause that he has a tool in the toolbox that could be useful, but I wonder if these teams, they look at it and they look at a player like that and they just say, our scheme is not going to fit him. And as good as he is at that, there's never going to be a situation where we're going to need to put him on the field for it. It's an interesting guy, though.
Yeah.
John in upstate New York says, I love Forge in Foxborough. Thank you. It got me thinking about how draft day trades are done. Do both teams need to submit their trade proposal to the league to make sure their understanding is consistent? Is it done verbally? Does the NFL have rules that they apply to draft day trades? I was surprised to see how all this is done in such a short time period, often just minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a pick line. So there's a line, I think it's still done by phone, pick line that the league runs that they say, okay, New England's on the clock, and then you submit the picks through a system on the computer. You submit the framework of the trade, and then it goes through the pick line and blasted out to all 32 teams. Okay, New England traded. So and so is on the clock now. Yeah, it's kind of like a almost like a Siri type voice most of the time. Someone that has just like kind of a monotone robotic voice. It's kind of funny.
Jake wants to. He's from Melbourne, Australia, and he wants to weigh in on the trash bin situation.
Australian
in Australia.
Well.
He
They
says
put theirs out the opposite way.
Yeah, they put it upside down.
Right.
No, but he has 4 bins. 4.
Wow.
1 for general waste, 1 for recycling, 1 for glass, and 1 for food scraps and grass clippings.
Okay.
None of these get collected weekly, and I have been moved to be collected on alternate fortnightly basis. I can only imagine the rant Fred would have about this if this was the situation he had to put up with.
Yeah,
You'd whine about that.
Well, that would be
not as much as Eric would.
We had grass bins in LA. We had recycling, grass bins, and basic.
So we have yard waste in general, whether it's like weeding or grass clippings or whatever, and they do it like once a month.
No idea what you're talking about.
This topic is
It's amazing. So they do it like once a month, but they'll call and they'll let it. It's like a robocall, and they let you know they'll be picking up on this such and such a date, and you put it out there, and you have those those paper bags, like the lawn bags that you get. You're supposed to use those. Some of us just do our weeding and put them in a regular trash bag and put it out in the trash. That's me.
I have a hard time with electronics, like throwing out electronics, like knowing what to do with like an old computer.
That's a pain. I have an old computer, an old hard drive,
it's
and I
just
have a
sitting there.
TV that has just been sitting in my garage for a while.
You can take them to Best Buy.
Oh, really?
Best Buy takes them.
Sometimes they have like electronics recycling, but you have to pay them.
They have a day.
You have to pay them.
Yeah, you can pay to go to the dump.
Yeah.
Which I don't do. I don't go to the dump, Fred.
Well, that's the same thing in my town. You have the transfer sticker that you can buy, and you go to the dump and you throw your trash away. And it is a lot cheaper than what I have to pay to have somebody pick it up. But I'm not going to put all that smelly trash in my car. Like if I had a pickup truck, it might be different. But you're putting it in the back of your car and it stinks. And I see people sitting online at the transfer station. It's like, I don't want to do that.
They do have electronic days periodically where it's like one of those big, it's like a big church parking lot right around the corner from my house that does it once in a while. I haven't seen it because I've had these. I'm waiting for that. You can just go. You give them like $20 and you can put anything you want in.
Yeah.
What about paint?
Paint.
That's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Paint's another one that Paul's just thrown away in trash bags.
Oh yeah. I have to
Hazardous
admit,
Materials Day.
I might have done that. Yeah.
Again, I've said this before. Like, I wonder, where does it all go? Where does all the trash go? I can't grasp it.
Well, but it is an issue though. We got a lot of trash.
I'm sure.
We have a finite space.
And it's just every week we're all just loading up the bins and it's going somewhere.
Can we just
burning
have Elon put it in rockets and just shoot it into space?
Shoot it into the sun?
Just let him go. Yeah.
So do you have the ability to get one of those stickers? Like, let's say you bought a new refrigerator. You're throwing away your old refrigerator. Do you have an ability to just put that on the sidewalk and get one of those stickers and they'll come and get it?
Oh, no.
You have to take it?
The stickers you put on your car and you have to take it.
Oh, so we have again, I think I'm just very fortunate. We can take a major appliance, something like that. You go to the office and get a sticker. I think it costs like $25.
Yep.
You put it on the side of your refrigerator, and then you're on the list, and they'll get it.
Now,
as long as it has the sticker on it, they'll take it.
So I have a private service. So if I had something big like that, I could call them and say, "Hey, I need to get rid of."
I have a private service.
No,
sorry.
it's not the town. So
no, it's Fred Kirsch.
No, it's Nauset Disposal.
The town contracts it out to somebody else.
But I'd have to call them and say, "Hey, I got a fridge," and they would charge. I would get extra on my bill for picking up that.
That's riveting.
I know Nauset Disposal.
Garbage talk.
It's good spots.
It's a good bunch of
Mason writes in, might be an unreasonable question at this juncture since we haven't seen a ton from this offense, But how many targets would you like to see each of the receivers get this year? I personally would love to see Diggs get 110 plus. So wouldn't we all? But I'm not sure if that's realistic in Josh McDaniel's system. It's been a long time since we've had a guy that we can trust to go out and consistently win their ones, and I'd really like to see them explore that.
I'd say provided that he's healthy, he's going to get over 200 targets. Like, he's going to catch 100 passes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's done that every year.
Provided that he's healthy, he's going to catch 100.
Right.
He's on track for it last year.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Knee injury. But
all right.
And then everybody falls in line after that.
Right.
We'll see. We'll see after that.
Yeah. Kyle Williams would be fun to watch, though. He moves well. He had some good catches.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by Kyle Williams.
Yeah, at least to make some big plays. Like, I don't know if he'll be consistent. Like, Diggs is going to be consistent. He's going to be 100 catches, 1,000 yards if he's healthy. Kyle Williams, it might be more big plays here intermittently, but those big plays are going to be flashes that will get you excited.
That's what's interesting to see how it comes together. Which guys are the guys that keep them on time? Which are the guys that provide an element of explosiveness? What guys are got-to-have-it moments? Who does Drake develop that rapport with? Does it remain Hunter Henry? Does he continue that connection he has with Booty as well? There's a lot.
I know that people are hopeful that Diggs is going to be explosive, but what he was towards the end in Buffalo and what he was last year for Houston before he got hurt was much more chain mover than big play receiver. Last year in Houston, he was pretty much exclusively 3rd and 6. He's going to pick up the first down type of guy. Now, they had Nico Collins and they had other people, but you say the consistent guys or the chain, like that's going to be him and Henry, I would think.
Yeah.
They're looking for the guy. That's why they drafted Kyle Williams, because you're looking for the guy that can make the big plays.
Voodoo writes in.
Don't know.
He says the year is 2030.
Okay.
5 years from now, who are the top 5 quarterbacks?
Oh boy.
Jaden Daniels.
2025.
5 years from now.
Jaden Daniels.
Arch Manning.
Drake maybe better be one of them.
Yeah, right. He better be.
I mean,
Jaden Daniels.
Mahomes and
Jaden
Patrick
Daniels.
and
Is Caleb Williams your guy, Paul? You've come off of him, huh? You were a big Caleb Williams guy.
I'm trying to, is Joe Burrow one of them? Like, I'm trying to figure out how many guys will no longer be.
He'll be gone by then.
Like, I'm going to put,
Mahomes out of the league
like,
in
if I'm
5
putting,
years?
like, Mahomes, Jackson, Allen, how many of these guys are
Right.
not going to be in the top 5 in 5 years?
Yeah,
They-
probably,
couple of
a
them
couple of them
will
probably will be.
Like, to me, it's less about what I think of the young guys and more about
They
what
ain't
I think
going
of the
nowhere.
longevity of the guys that are already established.
Right.
I like thinking about Josh Allen and Mahomes being out of the way in 5 years.
Mahomes
but-
might be.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about out of the way, but like we might be in a different chapter. I mean, we're kind of already in a different chapter with Mahomes now. Like Mahomes' numbers are not what they were at the beginning of his career. At this point, I'm just going to hang in games and win them late because I'm just better than you. Like that's.
But don't
what
you
he
think
does.
at some point they're going to say what you're saying? Mahomes isn't the same guy anymore. We need to get him some help so he doesn't have to do it all on
right?
his own.
I mean, that's the number one question: is if he had the help again, would it come back? But
sort of like Brady's ascension from leaving here to when he first got to Tampa, and all of a sudden he's throwing Evans and Godwin.
When did that happen?
Everybody.
I forgot about that.
Deuce rooted for it. He
Well, he
wanted
was
him to
happy.
leave.
He was
Yeah.
excited to see what would happen.
I couldn't watch it.
He wanted him to get
I
out of
couldn't
here.
watch it.
I'm never going to stop making fun of him for that line. I'm excited to see what happens.
It's like year one.
Let's go back to the phones. Tim's in Kansas City. Hey, Tim.
Timmy.
Hey, Fred. How you doing? I just want to let you know I was watching Forged in Foxborough and paused it on the picture on still that showed you and Paul. And I was telling my sons, I said, guys, I've listened to these guys since 2002. And it's interesting the relationship that you guys probably maybe know or maybe don't know that you have with your listeners. Because the value of that relationship, you guys have been with me with the birth of my kids. You've been with me on countless trips. Many times in the gym, if I almost dropped weights from laughing at what you guys were saying. I've got my first several iPods because of the show. I bought into Our Lad because of the show. I didn't buy Speed Queen because
Speed
of
Queen,
Our
yeah.
Lad.
I'm America's salesperson.
You spend time listening to people. Like I wonder whatever happened to Tiff in Wisconsin. Did her son ever play college football? Why doesn't James, the most interesting fan, call back in? How's Chester doing? Guys like that,
Yeah.
But over the years,
I have
there's
theories.
this relationship that develops. I thought I'd call in for a couple things. One, I have a solution to the question on the music that I think is obvious after years of listening to the show. There's one song that I think has bonded the Patriots fans together. We've had people call in or write in and say they danced to it. It's Mike's song.
It's a banger.
Mike's song.
At the beginning of this at the third quarter, you play Mike's song. Look who's back from the locker room. What was the mood? Were the players friendly? Do it even look like Derrick Henry? Hey, Mike, what's it like in the locker room? It could be from Mike Vrabel, but it's the perfect song. It's got good vibes to it. People would dance to it. It'd be great.
The locker room. What was the mood? Were the players friendly to that? None of them looked like Derrick Henry. Hey, Mike, what was it like in the locker room? Hey, Mike, what was it like in the locker room?
I think that would get people grooving, but I don't know about pumped up.
Grammy. It's a Grammy nominee right there.
I'm in.
You could show Mike Vrabel. He could give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down like Gladiator. It'd be perfect.
Yeah, it's a great song.
Mike's so impressive. He actually has another song that's not quite as good as this one, but okay, here we go.
I think that one's better.
It's time for Mike to show.
That's a good one too.
That's my theme song.
No.
He couldn't wait to get rid of that era.
They're playing my whole catalog.
The okay, here we go song.
Okay, here we go.
This one's from Mike. So,
yeah.
Here we go. This one's for Mike Dussault. Yeah, here we go. This one's for Mike Dussault. He made his name in blogging, and he's a youth hockey referee. Don't you ever forget those 28-3 tees. He's last in the picks, and he's sneaky negative. But he knows his hoodies and he knows them good. Did you know that he used to live in Hollywood? Okay, here we go. This one's for Mike Dussault. Yeah, here we go. This one's for Mike Dussault.
Okay, that's
so
good.
good.
That's gonna bring the house down at my funeral. You know, that's what we're gonna go out on. They're gonna play that one.
Think of the fans though, yelling that stuff out. It'd be fantastic.
That is great.
Then to answer the chicken question that Evans brought up before, as far as chicken tenders go, or the boneless wings,
There's a right answer to this.
that's actually what I do for work. I work in meat separation, and oddly enough, I can take literally. So a boneless chicken wing is from breast meat, so it's actually a higher quality meat than a wing itself is.
Okay,
That's why they're
but
better.
it's not.
That's why it's not as good.
Tim just provided.
better.
But no, but the point is that it's not a boneless wing.
Is it toss in the sauce?
Because no such
Tenders
thing as
are
a boneless
chicken
wing.
tender, right?
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
breasts.
Right.
Yeah, it's not even a
Yeah,
chicken.
that's why it's not as good.
Right.
It doesn't matter. It's
All
about
right.
the sauce.
Doesn't have the flavor.
That was a great call. Nice.
It was. It
great
was
calls.
an over-the-top
Thank you.
great call. The best caller we've had in a long time.
Thank you very much. Speaking of James Pettigrew, the most interesting Patriots fan of the world, he writes in
He chimes in?
about trash.
Oh.
People loving
He
the
says,
trash.
we have one bin here in Belize, where he's living right now.
Oh, excuse us.
But the strange thing here is all the food waste just goes to the overgrown plot next door. I was unsure at first, but my landlord assured me that the local wildlife will take care of it. I've been here for months now, and it works.
Huh. Nice. It's good. It's easy.
Yeah.
Probably got a lot of rats next door though, but that's all right.
Yeah, that's true. But at least they stay. I guess if you put food there, that's where they'll stay.
It's not like nice puppies are coming to
it's
eat all
in
this
Belize.
food scraps next door. It's
Yeah.
rats.
By the way, I
raccoons.
have a bat's nest
Oh yeah.
under the eaves in my house.
Batman.
Yeah, so we got to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Is there
I like bats though. They eat the
bait
bugs.
Is it a cave? You have a cave too?
I have a cave.
Bat cave?
Bat cave, get
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Black
the
shirt
only one
on.
that can talk about like Noah's Ark and the Ark of the question.
Right. If you put some pebbles in a sock and swing it around, you make the bats all go crazy. I grew up with bat nets all around in my house.
Put
area.
pebbles in a sock and swing it around because of the
The
noise.
noise sends them insane.
Because they have the echo.
We used to do that at night as teenagers.
That sonar.
You guys want to screw with some bats tonight? It's like, welcome to Rhode Island.
Morale.
We mess with bats.
Morel had a very different teenage years than me.
Than everybody.
Don't mess
Not
with those
just you,
stupid
everybody.
bats. You got the pebbles? You bring a sock? Yeah, we're good. Let's
Bro.
go.
Bro, you got the sock?
Stupid bats.
You got the sock, bro?
I got my brother's sock. It's really long. Extra pebbles in it.
I'm not. I don't want to necessarily drive them crazy. I just want to get them somewhere else.
It's cool to see like the scene from Batman Begins. Is what it looks
Oh, they
like.
come.
Matt, you
flying
stand
out,
up
yeah.
in it, and they're all buzzing around you, and like, I'm Batman.
Now we're back.
All right, there we go. That makes sense now.
Audrey says, I live in the country, so we pay for trash pickup. I take our recycling to the transfer station about once a month, but the best system I remember was when we lived in Dover, New Hampshire. I was there this weekend. All recycling was free pickup, but you had to pay $1 per bag for special trash bags. You could buy a pack at all the grocery stores. This encourages everyone to recycle and save money. We had that when I lived in Rentham. They instituted you had to buy these bags,
Yeah,
but
we
they
had
were
that.
$10 a bag.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. They were $10 a roll.
Oh,
So
okay.
you got 5 bags, so they were $2 a bag. And my friend, who was a selectman, instituted that. And the night that the bill passed, people went to his lawn and threw all their trash bags on his lawn. So they didn't want to spend.
It's like Coach Nickerson.
Yeah, they didn't want to spend $10 for a roll of trash bags.
Good for them.
Did you not see all the right moves?
Good for them.
You didn't give
Yeah,
not
good for
quotable
them.
on it.
Protest
Not
them.
quotable. I've seen it, but I know.
I don't know if I've ever made an 80s movie reference that you did not get immediately.
I mean,
You've made a lot to me that I've missed.
Yeah. Well, Better Off Dead is not. Is
That's
not in
one
your
that's not in my
wheelhouse, but,
catalog.
I mean, I've definitely seen it.
Tom
but-
Cruise,
Yeah,
Craig
oh,
T.
yeah.
Nelson,
Oh, yeah.
all the right moves.
All the right moves. Yeah.
It's a
Pennsylvania
football movie. I
football.
figured you'd know. It's
Yeah.
6'2" stack monster. I figured you were breaking it down.
I thought we were talking about Jerry Maguire. That's awesome.
What?
This is probably about 10 years before Jerry
Got
Maguire.
it.
Maybe more.
I just remember in the video store it was like Tom Cruise with like the football and the Letterman jacket.
The Letterman
like,
jacket,
covered in
Leah
that.
Thompson,
All the
a
right
beautiful
moves.
young Leah
Yeah,
Thompson in that
yeah.
movie.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
wonderful.
So hot.
Chris says you can't use the argument that boneless wings aren't wings because they don't come from the wing, because drums aren't from the wings either. But the reason
Good
you call them
point.
drumsticks
Good
is
point.
because, they're shaped.
Right.
Good rebuttal.
Right.
Yeah, but you call it a wing.
Roasted.
Huh?
You call it a wing.
Only when they part of the.
The drummy you call a wing, right?
It's part of the wing, yeah.
No, he's saying it's not.
Only the flats
Oh,
are
it
the
isn't?
wings, right?
I mean, if I'm reading the email correctly, he's saying you call the drum
Oh,
part of the
well,
wing. It's
okay.
not part of the wing.
I thought they were attached and then they separate them. No?
Well, we just had a
I don't
food
know.
separator on
All
the
I
phone.
know,
We couldn't ask.
mine is
Food
leaving about where it comes from the bird. That's not my
Well,
argument.
no, he's right. If the drumstick is from like the leg,
I think he's right.
then
Yeah.
he's right.
Then thank you.
It's
I'm
really
gonna
not
put
a
that,
wing.
I'm going to put that in
So
my,
just the flats. The flats are
in
the
my
wing, and that's
holster
it.
for future arguments.
Evans
I'm
off
gonna
the
have that
schneid
as
in
my
arguments against Paul.
Well,
you just won your first one.
No, my sauce argument's still valid.
But it's still got a bone
sauce?
in it.
Is it tossed in the sauce?
Okay.
Is it covered in sauce, or are you dipping? If you're dipping
it's got to be tossed in.
then those are boneless wings.
No, it's got to be tossed. The wings are tossed in sauce before they're cooked. You
I
don't
just
just
like
dip
chicken
it.
tenders.
Boneless wings. Tenders, you're dipping.
Love the tenders.
You get a little.
Well, I went out with my boys
side.
this weekend. We had a big boys weekend. We had a big table full of wings and tenders. Had both. I like the tenders.
I like the tenders too.
Listen, if you like tenders better than wings, that's fine.
Who's here to tell you what
Right.
you should like? That's not what Fred and I are doing, baby. That's
Right.
not what we're about. That's not my bag, baby.
You're making us feel bad for liking the boneless.
No,
What are you, a child?
We're just telling
I'm
you
just
you're
telling
wrong.
you, it's not a boneless wing. It's
Sure
a
is.
it's a chicken tender.
Fred
No,
literally
I
just had
like
tenders for
I
lunch.
like tenders. I like wings better. But if I'm out
Wrong.
with a bunch of guys and I don't necessarily want to make a mess of myself,
I know,
I'm
that's
going
the
to eat
hard
the
thing.
tenders.
Nah.
They're neater.
Yep.
Steve wants to know, have you guys seen the new rivalry uniforms, or do you know how they're being designed?
Yes.
I know they said they're based on the community, but I'm curious if they'll take community feedback / desire into the design.
Well, not
they've
anymore.
already been designed, so it's too late.
Yeah. No.
Have you guys really seen them?
Yeah.
Oh,
I might have. I might have.
I didn't.
No, I haven't.
I'll see them when we get the
I
schedule.
haven't seen them.
You'll
I
see
know
them
what
when they
look
run
like.
out in them, and
right.
You're gonna be like, oh, these are new.
Evan gets me.
What are they wearing?
Thanks, Paul.
I'm very excited about this release.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
I'm very excited. Matt says, thank you guys for talking about the UFL. I'm a huge UFL supporter.
Welcome.
So you're
Did we
the
do
one.
a whole show? I don't remember.
Birmingham Stallions, baby.
Anyway, to my question, did anyone else cry at David Andrews' retirement speech? That was one of the most difficult retirement speeches I've ever been through. It was.
I did not.
I mean,
I love me some David Andrews, but it was his emotional moment, not mine.
No, but you feel it for him.
I did.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. Guys love this game. I mean, it's all they know growing up, and it took them all the way to the heights.
He said 26 years playing football.
I think that's like something that doesn't always get recognized as, like guys like David Andrews have been playing football since he was like 6.
Yeah.
Like it's not just the NFL career. It's also everything leading up to, Pop Warner.
It's
and
huge.
middle school,
I've
high
joked
school.
around about it, right? Like, so my youngest son just graduated high school. So this is going to be next year when we roll around a football season in September, will be the first time since my oldest son was 5 that I will not have a season to get ready to be a fan. Yeah. And it's kind of been on my mind. But can you imagine how much more impactful that is for someone who's actually playing and had a career for 26 years of playing football and always having, so this is the time of year that I train. This is the time of year that my body recovers. This is the time of year I have to get ready for training camp. And right on down the line, game planning, everything else that goes into it. And for the first time, he will not be doing that stuff now.
Yeah. People in Everett are still talking about his retirement speech from Everett High.
Yeah. Don't go, Paul.
I
One more
thought
year.
of you the other day because they had a community event at Everett High.
Sandra Still and Likely.
Sandra Still and Likely were there.
Oh.
There were a couple of the.
They did a clinic at the stadium like 2 weeks ago. It was really well received.
Yeah.
Which I think is great that they do that.
They brought back they didn't call Paul.
No left-handed quarterbacks from the 80s.
Nor should they have.
What do you
have
mean?
actual NFL players to bring.
Yeah, but like somebody
All right,
had
step
to,
back, guys, step
had to
back,
throw
step back.
Isaiah Likely the football. And,
wasn't me.
Yeah. I think a little bit of for people go to college, like you kind of have that rhythm of school through college, and then you get out of college and all of a sudden there's no more, like you said, like summer and that feel of like, oh, it's time to go back to school, and you have to adjust to that. And I feel like in some ways football players don't have to as much because it's still the same kind of schedule of training camp in August, and they kind of keep that going. And then for someone like David Andrews, all of a sudden you're in your mid-30s and now it's like, all right, that whole cycle is completely different.
Like that first Friday in September, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. I don't.
Go to a game.
Come to Sharon. Come to Sharon High. Watch some football.
Be that guy that goes to the games when your kid's not even playing.
I will probably go to a game because there's still like the juniors are a lot of TJ's friends and whatnot. I'll probably go and watch a game, but
it'd be tough.
No, I'm not going to be going to all the games.
Yeah. Tough. I'm glad Paul's going through it first because I'm like 5 years behind him, and now I
do have my niece. My niece is a volleyball player. She's going to be a senior at Fenwick, and she's the captain, one of the captains in the volleyball. So I was telling them, no pressure, Em, but I'm going to every game. I might be going to the road games.
Oh yeah.
I just need something, dude.
So I have to admit, this is when my kid played lacrosse. So
at a high level too. Connor played.
When he went to college, I would once in a while go to a high school game, and I kind of act like I was a scout. I'd sit by myself and like really
get some notes,
put notes into my phone.
Start looking at your phone.
So the parents would think like,
like Johns Hopkins lacrosse.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
give him a head
from
fake.
Maryland. I heard Maryland.
Right. Give him head fakes. I like doing that.
It was bad enough when Will's senior year. Like, he didn't play baseball anymore, and obviously I coached a million of these kids in baseball. So Will's senior year, I went to a lot of I went to, I think, every home baseball game, and my kid wasn't playing. And they would go to me like, Paul, what's the score? Because they know that I would know.
Because
I wasn't keeping score, but I had as this one guy, Wes, he always said, he had an when we first met, it was like 13-year-old AAU games. So like those games are like 22-16, as a typical rule. And he's always had an uncanny knack of knowing exactly what the score was and the situation in the inning all the time. And I was like, oh, that's kind of what I do for a living.
All right. Well, listen, that's going to be it.
We got another guy on the phone. Let's go. You got 3 minutes. Don't show him.
We'll wrap up the phones here. Emery is in Virginia. Hey, Emery.
Hey, how you doing, gentlemen?
Okay.
You guys are very entertaining, man.
Thank you.
Hey, listen,
we try.
Kyle Williams, I'm excited about this kid. I know he hasn't played a game in the NFL yet, but just watching his tape and hearing all the good stuff about him, Are there any concerns about him playing on the outside when we've had some small receivers before, like Deion Branch, Brandon Cook, Philip Dorsett, to name a few? Please share with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably. There's a lot of positives about Kyle Williams, but the question that everybody has is physicality of the NFL game and being able to play through contact and get off the line. He's got a great release package with his feet and great quickness off the line, but once guys in the
NFL, he's like 180,
190,
190.
yeah,
I mean,
5'10", 190.
Tiny, but he's on the smaller end.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't know
the
about
question.
playing like to Emery's point. I think he's
Yeah.
asking, can he be the X? I've seen a lot of people have their sort of quasi depth chart, and he's the X.
Yeah.
And I'm not
Thanks,
sure that
Emery.
he's an X.
Yeah, is he going to be able to win the ball down the field, right? Like, in the NFL, you're not going to be 10 yards behind the defense very often like you are in college. So is he going to be able to finish through contact, win contested catches, win jump balls down the field?
All fair questions.
Those are going to be the things that will separate whether he's great, good or great.
That's why I
How
wonder.
big is Zay Flowers?
Much smaller, but
yeah.
he plays in the
He's a
slot,
slot guy.
So
Okay.
he's 5'9",
But he
180.
gets downfield.
Oh, you can get downfield out of the slot, but I think that people are wondering, can he play on the outside?
Yeah.
Because I think the Patriots have a lot of similar kind of receivers with like a lot of Z's and
A lot
slots.
of move
and
around
whatnot.
guys.
Yeah,
Yep. All right. Well, that'll be it. Once
Good use
again, I
of
want to
Z.
welcome Brunt
Good
Workwear
job.
to the family, our new sponsor. Appreciate the support. It's bruntworkwear.com/Pats. Go there and get $10 off your first order. Workwear. That's what we do here. We work. All right. We will see you on Thursday.
Catch 22 tomorrow at noon.
Tomorrow,
back at noon for tomorrow.
back at noon for tomorrow with Bart. How's Bart doing? I haven't seen him in a while. He's doing okay.
He's doing well.
Golf
He's
game's
doing well.
really firing on
Yeah,
all
golfing
cylinders.
a lot. He disappears on the weekends for 3 hours.
Is he a good golfer?
I don't know if he's good, but he golfs.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't golf myself, but
You don't golf? Why not?
no, it's just not for me.
No X's and O's.
Yeah.
Too much time away from all 22?
Yeah, it's just not for me.
All right.
Yeah, it's okay.
All right. We'll see you Thursday.
Hey, this is Evan. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you really want to help us, make sure to like us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, make sure to follow on the New England Patriots YouTube channel to see this show and everything else we do here at the Patriots. Thanks a lot.